Chapter 8:11. This is a formation. The 10 experts were shocked. They didn't expect that the other party had set up a formation to wait for them. It's just a formation. You want to trap the 10 of us? What a joke. The Lung family's expert said disdainfully. The other party was just a first heaven venerable. What kind of powerful formation could he have mastered? Moreover, the 10 of them could kill a third heaven venerable if they joined forces. Breaking a formation would be a piece of cake. Therefore, they didn't take the formation seriously at all. However, they soon fell silent, and their expressions became ugly. They realized that they had underestimated the formation. After a series of attacks, not only did they not break it, but they also lost contact with each other. It could be said that the formation's power and strangeness were completely beyond their expectations. The 10 experts were trapped in the formation and couldn't come out for a while. At first, they thought that it was just an ordinary formation that could be broken with some strength. However, they realized that they were completely wrong. This formation was more powerful than they had imagined. They struggled for a long time, but they couldn't break it at all. In fact, this was very normal. Although these people were second heaven venerables and were powerful, this formation was set up by the dark red dragon. Ruffian Dragon, who had lived for thousands of years, was far more knowledgeable and experienced than these people. The formation he had set up was quite terrifying. Lin Xian pulled out the Wind Shadow Sword and slowly entered the formation. With a flash of light, he arrived in front of an elder. This was an elder of the Lung family, a second heaven venerable. When he saw Lin Xian, he immediately shouted angrily, "You're that thief? Come and die." He held a huge saber in his hand and slashed it forward. The saber flashed like a violent dragon, and the terrifying saber flashed and connected heaven and earth. Lin Xian used an earthgrade movement technique and moved quickly in the air, easily dodging the attack. Then he shouted coldly and slashed down with the Wind Shadow Sword. This sword was too terrifying, and it even split open the void. A terrifying sea of blood appeared in the surroundings and surged. Endless sword flashes gathered like a waterfall and turned into a sword light that quickly slashed toward the opponent. In an instant, the Lung family's expert turned pale with fright. He felt that the power of the sword light was enough to threaten his life. "I can't take it head on." These words appeared in the mind of the Lung clan's expert. This was the result of his many years of experience and instincts. With a stomp of his feet, the Lung family's expert turned into a beam of light and shot up like a bolt of lightning, dodging the attack. Boom! In the next moment, the sword ray fell, shattering the ground. A pitch-black hole appeared, so deep that the bottom could not be seen. Since the first sword had missed, the second sword had already pierced out. Like a shocking dragon, it quickly chased after the Lung clan expert. The terrifying sounds of battle immediately attracted the attention of the other experts. Many of them looked solemn as they scanned the surroundings. However, they were in the illusory matrix and could not distinguish the real location. An extremely miserable cry rang out, echoing in the surroundings. "Third brother." Among them, the Lung clan's experts roared angrily and quickly rushed out. They could tell that the scream came from their dead comrade. This meant that the other half of them had most likely been killed. However, no matter how they flew, they were unable to break through the illusion array. Not long after, another scream was heard. This time it was from an elder of the Huang clan. The remaining 8 elders were shocked. They roared angrily and attacked with all their might. They knew that they could not hold back anymore. If they could not break through, there was only one outcome waiting for them, and that was death. Under the effect of their will to live, the 8 of them raised their cultivation to the extreme. They kept attacking the surroundings, causing the originally powerful illusion array to fluctuate and crack. As expected of a second-rank venerable, it seems that this array will not last for long. The dark red dragon sighed. Too little time and the materials are not complete. This is the best we can do. It's already not bad. It's already not easy to trap them for so long. Lin Xian was not disappointed. Killing 2 experts was enough for him. He still had time to play with these people. "Let's go." With a flash, Lin Xian disappeared into the horizon with the dark red dragon. Not long after, the entire illusory formation cracked open. 8 shocking auras gushed out like heavenly pillars, suppressing the surroundings and crushing everything within 1,000 miles into ashes. The powerful auras shrouded the area. Some of them even used their soul power to search. However, they did not find any middle-rank venerable. They only saw 2 corpses on the ground. They looked like dried corpses without a single drop of blood. "Damn thief, I will definitely catch you and grind your bones to dust." The 8 experts roared towards the sky. In the next few days, Lin Xian set up traps from time to time. He released his aura to lure the experts. Shocking battles broke out in the forest. Finally, on the 8th day he killed all of them. However, what surprised him was that the blood mark in his body was not destroyed. This gave him a headache, but compared to the gains it was still great. After absorbing the essence blood of the 8 experts, his blood sword inheritance had improved again, reaching the peak of the 2nd level. He believed that it wouldn't be long before he could reach the 3rd level. After resting in the forest for half a day, Lin Xian adjusted himself to his peak state. He then flew towards Wenfeng City. Wenfeng City was bustling with people. It was getting more and more lively. There were less than 10 days to the Wanxiang auction. Some powerful experts rushed over as they did not want to miss the event. However, while everyone was excited and happy, the Huang and Lung clans were in a gloomy mood. The two families had joined forces and sent out 10 powerful 2nd-level Honored Realm experts to catch the culprit. However, after 10 days there was no news at all. This gave them a bad feeling. However, although they were worried, they did not believe that the culprit had died. 10 2nd-level Honored Realm experts could kill a 3rd-level Honored Realm expert if they joined forces. It was not a problem to deal with a 1st-level Venerable Thief. However, after waiting for a few more days, their hearts slowly sank. After such a long time, even if they could not catch the culprit should have returned. However, there was no news at all. This meant that the culprit was most likely dead. After guessing this, the Huang and Lung families fell silent. They wanted to send out more experts to kill the culprit. However, the auction was approaching and they could not send more people. They could only put this matter aside for now. However, in Wenfeng City they kept a close eye on the situation. As long as the culprit appeared, they would kill him mercilessly. Chapter 8:12. Lin Xian saw Yu Fei when he returned to the small courtyard he rented. Brother Xian, there's news from Flying Tiger City and Qingshan City. They're basically under control. Nan Gongseng and Marulong have also arrived at the Blood Realm. They're both in Flying Tiger City now. Send them a message and ask them to gather at Windy City. Lin Xian felt that this auction would not be easy. There would definitely be a huge battle. After all, a half-Earth rank weapon was too tempting. It was something that all experts wanted. Furthermore, it was not just a half-Earth rank weapon. There was also the Phoenix Blood Crimson Gold. He had to get it too. That was the material to make the real Red Lotus armor. A few days later, the highly anticipated Wanxiang auction finally began. Everyone was excited. They decided to show off their skills at the auction. They had to get their hands on the treasures. In the VIP room of the Wanxiang auction, Hong Wuji, who was dressed in red, sat on a soft chair. He was surrounded by 6 beautiful women. At this moment, he was looking at the auction through the strange crystal glass in front of him. The Lone Star Sword will be mine. Hong Wuji's eyes shone brightly. At the same time, the other VIP rooms were filled with important figures and experts. In one of the VIP rooms, the experts of the Huang family gathered. Send someone to bring the blood mirror to the entrance of the auction and wait. If that little thief dares to come to the auction, kill him immediately. Yes. A few elders retreated and quickly made arrangements. They were going to attack together with the Lung family. If the other party did not come to the auction, then so be it. If he dared to come, then he would not be able to leave. Lin Xian used the heaven-changing technique to change his appearance and aura again. This time he became an ordinary martial artist. He blended into the crowd and headed for the Wanxiang auction. However, just as he approached the entrance of the auction, he felt uneasy. It was as if something was about to happen. This was a subtle instinct of his body. After so many years of fighting, his sensitivity to danger had reached a terrifying level. Therefore, as soon as he felt excited, he immediately came to a stop and stared cautiously at the Wanxiang auction in front of him. There were guards there to maintain order and collect entry fees. The crowd quickly entered. Everything seemed normal. However, Lin Xian frowned slightly. He realized that there were martial artists wearing the uniforms of the Huang family and the Lung family walking around the entrance. Furthermore, a crimson mirror floated above the building of the Wanxiang auction house, emitting a faint crimson glow that encapsulated the entire entrance. Lin Xian furrowed his brows when he saw the red light. The dark red mark within his body began to throb violently, flickering with light as if it was attracted to something. This is... Lin Xian's face was pale. Damn the Huang family. How dare they arrange surveillance at the entrance's entrance? Lin's face, Huang's face. Huang's face. Kam's face, Lin Xian's. Otherwise, judging from their auras, they were definitely 2nd-level venerated realm experts. They were even stronger than the ones he had killed. However, it was impossible could stop him was Huang's was. Not to mention anything else, just the half-earth-rank treasured sword and the phoenix blood crimson gold were treasures that Lin Xian was determined to obtain. He Huang has had to go. Auction. Thinking of this, he strode forward. But the closer he got to the entrance, the brighter the red mark in his body became. He could no longer suppress it. In the end, his body emitted a red light that soared into the sky. What? He's here. At the entrance, the experts of the Huang family and the Lung family were shocked. Then they were overjoyed. They had finally found Lin Xian. Die, brat. A terrifying giant palm like that of a demon slammed down. Humph. Lin Xian harumphed and struck with his hand. A sharp light shone and collided with the palm, producing a clanging sound. The violent energy swept across the place, blowing many martial artists away. Whoosh. The two took a step back and stared at each other, their eyes filled with murderous intent. Stop. Fighting is not allowed in front of the Wanxiang auction. At that moment, a loud voice could be heard. Following this, a powerful force was emitted to warn the crowd. If you attack again, you will be the enemy of the Wanxiang auction. You will be killed without mercy. The voice was cold and emotionless. Hearing this, the experts of the Huang family and the Lung family fell silent. They knew this rule. Don't worry, we won't fight here. A few of them said to the sky. Then they stared at Lin Xian fiercely. Brat, how dare you come out? I don't know if you're an idiot or a fool. Today is the day you die. A group of people go forward and surround Lin Xian. Although they couldn't fight here, it didn't mean that they would let Lin Xian go. As long as they could get him somewhere else, they could attack. The corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled up slightly. Not being able to fight here was not bad news for him. After all, this was the territory of the two families. If a fight broke out, there might be some old monsters. Once he was somewhere else, he wouldn't have to worry. Thinking of this, he smiled and waved his sleeve. A mysterious jade platform appeared. Buzz. Lin Xian's body flashed and he disappeared. What? The Huang family and the Lung family were shocked. They didn't expect Lin Xian to have such a treasure. It's a space teleportation. Go after him. This kind of teleportation can't be far. Today we can't let this brat leave alive. Everyone flew into the sky and searched quickly. Whoosh. 100 miles away, Lin Xian's body appeared. He immediately used the heaven-changing technique to hide his aura. Then he flew into the distance. Lin Xian's goal was simple. He wanted to leave Windy City and separate these people. Since the other party didn't know what was good for them and still wanted to kill him, then they couldn't blame him for going on a killing spree. With a sway of his body, he used his extreme speed to fly through the air like a ghost. In a big forest far away from Windy City, Lin Xian landed and waited. He held the wind shadow sword and waited quietly. When he flew, he deliberately left some traces so that those people could see it. Sure enough, not long after, there was a fluctuation of spiritual energy in the sky. It seemed that there was a huge aura flying toward him. Lin Xian squinted and looked into the distance with a smile. It's coming? In the sky, a black dot appeared. Then, it quickly grew bigger like a shooting star. In the blink of an eye, the black figure arrived nearby and landed on the ground. The person who came was a middle-aged man. He had a strong back and a strong waist. He was extraordinarily handsome. When he walked, there was a sense of oppression. His gaze was sharp like a sword. It was extremely powerful, as if it could pierce through everything. Boom. He stopped 3 feet above the ground and floated in the air, looking down at Lin Xian. His gaze was like a knife. It turned into a beam of light that rushed downward. Die, brat. Chapter 8:13. The surrounding forest shook and the earth trembled slightly. One could imagine how powerful this middle-aged man was. He looked down from above. You dare to show yourself after killing my clansmen? No one can save you today. I will use your blood to pay tribute to my clansmen. I've heard these words countless times, but every single one of them has become a corpse. Lin Xian's expression was cold. You are no exception. You will be the next. Ignorant. The middle-aged man snorted. I will let you know how powerful the true experts of the Lung clan are. The middle-aged man stepped out, and his body emitted a strong light. At the same time, he sealed off the surroundings to prevent Lin Xian from escaping. Let's see where you can run to today. Since you want to die, I will fulfill your wish. Lin Xian shouted as he pulled out the wind shadow sword and stabbed forward. Boom. The sword light flickered as if a huge dragon was roaring, shaking the heavens and the earth. The whole ground cracked open and a 1,000-meter-long crack appeared. 100 fists. The middle-aged man also attacked, and his bronze skin shone brightly as he punched forward with a violent aura. The two collided, and a loud sound was heard as if thunder had descended. With a bang, the middle-aged man was sent flying, and his face revealed a trace of shock. According to the information he had received, Lin Xian could not be so powerful. Could it be that this brat was still hiding his strength? He was shocked. In fact, he did not know that not long ago, Lin Xian had successfully upgraded the Bloodsword King's inheritance, and his strength had greatly increased. Compared to before, Lin Xian was much stronger. While the middle-aged man was shocked, Lin Xian was also shocked. Lin Xian had taken a blow from his sword and was not injured, which was rare. It seemed that the opponent was a body-refining expert. At least, he was much stronger than the previous elders. Interesting, I hope you can hold on for a while longer. Lin Xian sneered. I guarantee that you will not be able to laugh soon. The middle-aged man roared, and the light on his body became even stronger. The entire ground was shaking as if there was an earthquake, and it was shaking rapidly. Rows of trees fell down, creating an area of tremors. The distant mountain peaks also swayed, some of them collapsing. A yellow aura gushed out and surrounded the middle-aged man. In the next moment his appearance changed greatly. Countless hair grew out of his bronze skin. It was brownish yellow, like the fur of a demonic beast. Soon this sort of situation spread throughout his entire body. His robust body grew 10 meters taller, becoming even taller. The middle-aged man was like a demonic monkey as he roared into the sky. His voice was filled with a strong killing intent. Demon beast. Lin Xian was shocked. He did not expect the other party to have such a change. Instead of replying, the middle-aged man roared furiously as he dashed forward like a bolt of lightning. The middle-aged man's body changed shape. Yellow hair grew out of his body. His entire being was like a demonic ape, sinister and terrifying. He roared angrily, turned into a beam of light, and quickly rushed over. Bang! In the blink of an eye, he was right in front of Lin Xian. His huge fist, covered in thick demon hair, quickly punched out. Ping ping ping. Lin Xian swung his sword continuously. Sword chi was like a continuous spring rain, forming a patch and colliding with the middle-aged man's fist. The two collided, creating a series of deafening explosions. It was as if two metals had collided. Lin Xian was surprised. The middle-aged man's strength was much stronger than before. At least he would not be sent flying by him. Not only that, the middle-aged man's sturdy body was like a treasure. He could actually resist his sword chi. No wonder he dared to come alone. He was indeed capable. However, Lin Xian was not worried. He let out a low roar and used the great dragon sword soul, greatly increasing his combat strength. Sword chi surged and a blood-red light flashed, illuminating the entire sky. A violent and fierce aura filled the surroundings, making him look like a sword god. Whoosh! He stabbed out with his sword. Sword chi surged and turned into a blood-red waterfall, hanging upside down in the air. Sword of Summer, great waterfall. Sword chi surged, exploding with a powerful force. It quickly enveloped the middle-aged man and sent him flying. Boom! The middle-aged man's body trembled and flew out like a meteor. He crashed into a mountain peak. No wonder you could kill my clansmen. You are indeed extraordinary. The middle-aged man stood up from the ruins and shook off the rocks on his body. I have merged with the mountain monster ape's demon soul, but I still can't break your sword chi. You are indeed powerful. The middle-aged man was very powerful. He was far from the previous elders. His martial soul was very special. It had merged with the mountain monster ape's demon soul. It could be said to be incomparably powerful, far surpassing those of the same level. This transformation had greatly increased his battle prowess. However, he was still no match for Lin Xian in terms of combat strength. One could imagine how powerful the great dragon sword soul was. Merged with the demon soul? No wonder you became like this. You are neither human nor demon. You might as well call yourself a transvestite. Lin Xian sneered disdainfully. You are courting death. I will let you know the power of my martial soul. The middle-aged man's voice was sonorous and full of confidence. He shouted in a low voice and his body expanded again. He was 10 meters tall with a green face and fangs. His entire person was no different from a demonic beast. He took a step forward and the ground cracked. The aura on his body surged out in all directions like waves. Lin Xian frowned and slashed out with his sword. With the great dragon sword soul as the foundation, a blood dragon was formed and roared out. Boom! The blood dragon bared its fangs and brandished its claws in the air. It emitted a terrifying and heavy aura, causing the entire sky to tremble. At this moment, the middle-aged man below also roared into the sky. He raised his hands high and tore the sky apart. Mountain transformation. The pair of hands turned into two mountains that were as heavy as 10,000 pounds and blasted into the sky. These two mountain peaks were too terrifying, even heavier than real mountains. They stretched across the sky, dark and oppressive, even covering the heavenly sun. A large projection appeared on the ground. It was as if there was a demonic aura. It was incomparably cold and carried with it a monstrous pressure. The middle-aged man laughed sinisterly. He brought the two mountains and collided with the roaring blood dragon in the sky. Boom, boom, boom. An earth-shattering sound could be heard as the entire void was torn apart. The two mountains bombarded and were struck by the blood dragon. Terrifying cracks appeared on one of the mountains. The entire top of one of the mountains cracked open and large amounts of gravel fell down. Those gravel splattered and landed on the ground. Each of them could pierce through the ground and create terrifying black holes. As for the blood dragon, it was also forced back by the mountains and became dim. Brr. Seeing the two mountains being shattered, the middle-aged man was furious. He roared and grabbed in all directions with both hands. Rumble. The ground cracked and countless mountains collapsed. They quickly condensed into a stone rod that was 100 meters long in the air. Boom. In the next moment, the middle-aged man held the huge stone pillar in his hand and waved it rapidly. Boom. Boom. The power was too heavy. It directly crushed the void and covered the sky like dark clouds. Clang. The staff landed directly on the blood dragon's body, blasting it into two halves. Kid, give me your life. Chapter 8:14. Crooked. See how I'll break you. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Then his long sword surged and sword chi gathered in the sky. Countless flames danced and spread in the sky, forming a vermilion bird. Lin Xian used the dragon sword soul to simulate the vermilion bird seal. Terrifying flames filled the sky and burned everything. The dragon sword soul was too powerful. This sword was even more powerful than the vermilion bird seal. It burned everything within 1,000 miles into ashes. Boom. The terrifying vermilion bird circled in the sky and collided with the huge stone pillar. Suddenly, a fiery red light burst out in the sky. It carried a blazing aura and surged in all directions. Like a volcano erupting, smoke filled the air. Heat waves filled the sky as if a volcano had collapsed. Crack. Boom. The huge stone pillar collapsed and melted. The flames quickly flew towards the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man let out a loud roar. Like a real demonic beast, he leaped out from the flames in the sky. With a leap, he charged towards Lin Xian. His eyes shone with a dark green light. At this moment, the light had solidified. It was like two spears that swept across the sky. Fusing with demonic souls is still a small path. A martial artist's strength lies in his heart and faith. Let me show you what it means to be a martial artist. Lin Xian roared. The long sword in his hand bloomed with a dazzling light. It was like a fiery red sun hanging in the sky. Sword of raging flames. With this sword, the concept of fire surged out and lit up the entire sky. It was like a real sun descending rapidly. Boom. In an instant, the sun-like sword light shrouded the middle-aged man. Flames and sword chi exploded in an incomparably violent manner. The middle-aged man let out a shocking scream. All the hair on his body was burning. His body began to crack like porcelain and began to shatter. No, I won't lose. He roared to the sky. He was unwilling to give up. With the flames and broken body, he charged towards Lin Xian. Star explosion. Lin Xian's eyes were filled with disdain. He stabbed out with his long sword. A ray of sword chi flew out like a meteor and instantly hit the middle-aged man's huge body. Boom. An earth-shattering explosion rang out as the sword chi exploded, producing an intense energy shock wave that directly shattered the middle-aged man's body into pieces. The smoke dissipated and the ground was a mess. The ground was covered with broken corpses and remains, and it was scarlet red. A powerful second-rank venerable had died just like that. Using his finger as a sword, Lin Xian carved the word Lin on the ground. Then he left without looking back. This was not the first, nor would it be the last. Lin Xian released his soul power and covered the surroundings, sensing the presence of enemies. Since the other party had come to kill him, he would return the favor. Killing to stop killing, this was his method. Lin Xian killed the powerful middle-aged warrior and then turned to leave. Not long after, he met the second venerable one. That person was also a young middle-aged man. He was an expert from the Huang family. Without any hesitation, the two of them directly attacked, causing the sky and earth to dim. In the end, Lin Xian killed him. Once again, Lin Xian carved the word Lin on the ground. He took the other party's storage ring and left quickly. He used his Earth-class movement technique and his speed was very fast. He traveled through the forest like lightning. The Wanxiang auction had already begun, and he did not want to waste any time. Finally, he met the third expert. It was an old man with a powerful aura, like an erupting volcano. His combat strength was very shocking. This old man was even more powerful than the previous two experts, and he had rich combat experience. However, in the end he was still killed by Lin Xian. Blood stained the sky as the entire corpse was cut in half by the long sword. If the Huang and Lung families knew that they had lost so many experts, they would definitely regret it. Suddenly, the sound of something breaking through the air came from the sky, as if 3 meteors were falling from the sky. Terrifying spiritual energy surged like waves, toppling the mountains and overturning the seas. In the next moment, 3 figures appeared and descended from the sky, surrounding Lin Xian in a triangle. Looking at the traces of battle and the corpse that was cut in half on the ground, the 3 experts' faces turned cold and murderous. Without further ado, the 3 of them attacked at the same time, determined to kill Lin Xian. The 3 of them were very powerful. 2 of them were experts from the Lung family, and 1 was an elder from the Huang family. The 3 of them combined their combat strength was shocking, and they sealed off all directions. In the void, a blue light shone, and a giant spearhead transformed into a dragon, charging towards him. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws, and its momentum was terrifying. Lin Xian used the illusory demon steps, leaving behind a series of afterimages in the air as he quickly dodged this stunning attack. However, in the next moment, his heart raced and a strong sense of danger filled his heart. Using his movement technique, Lin Xian roared and moved quickly. At the same time, he used the red lotus armor to protect his body. Buzz! Streaks of red patterns appeared around him. They intertwined to form an illusory battle armor that enveloped him. At the same time, the sound of air being torn apart came from behind him. A powerful force, like that of an ancient beast, quickly bombarded the red lotus armor. The two collided with a deafening sound, and the terrifying force sent both the red lotus armor and Lin Xian flying. Boom! Boom! Lin Xian only stopped after smashing dozens of mountains. Walking out of the rubble, Lin Xian was shocked. If he had not reacted quickly and summoned the shadow of the red lotus battle armor, he would have been severely injured. The attack just now was too terrifying. Other than the red lotus armor, nothing could have withstood it. His eyes flickered and he looked up. A tall figure appeared where he had been standing. The muscles all over his body bulged like dragons. In that person's hand was a huge bronze hammer. It was the giant hammer that had sent him flying. 2 other figures stood on both sides of the burly man. One of them held a purple spear and was surrounded by a purple aura. The other was standing on a light sword, and his body was filled with terrifying sword chi. The 3 of them looked like middle-aged men. Their auras were very powerful and they were filled with murderous intent. You do have some ability. You were able to withstand my hammer without being injured, the middle-aged man with the giant green hammer said coldly. However, even if you manage to escape this attack, you won't be able to escape death. Any last words? Hurry up and leave them. The 3 of them were cold, and their expressions were filled with confidence and power. Lin Xian drew the wind shadow sword and held it in his hand. A terrifying aura also surged from his body. They deserve to die and so do all of you. Humph, you're still so stubborn. Today I'll take your life. The next moment, the middle-aged man in the middle attacked, and the giant green hammer in his hand smashed out quickly. The giant green hammer moved horizontally, and it grew larger in the air like a giant green mountain. He wanted to kill Lin Xian immediately, so he used all his strength in this attack. The void churned and the air cracked. Countless cracks spread in all directions. The giant green hammer was too terrifying. Just its aura alone was enough to make the earth and sky unable to withstand it. The terrifying pressure was like an ancient beast awakening. It was terrifying and powerful, and it made one's heart tremble. Chapter 8:15. Lin Xian held the hidden wind sword in his hand. Sword chi gushed out from his body like a heavenly pillar that connected heaven and earth. The surrounding mountains and earth turned into powder. Only the place where he was standing was unaffected. When the violent force entered the area he was in, it was quickly destroyed by the sword chi. The void was torn apart and the air waves were pushed back. The green hammer quickly swept through the air, trying to smash Lin Xian into a pulp. Lin Xian only made his move when the green hammer was close to the ground. He stabbed out with his sword and slashed upwards. Sword chi flickered and shone brightly. The wind shadow sword quickly expanded into a 300-meter-long sword chi. It was like a green dragon that roared out and slammed into the green hammer. The great dragon sword soul surged and merged with the sword chi with a terrifying attack power. The sword was extremely sharp. The void trembled and the green hammer swayed, leaving a clear sword mark on the ground. Blood sword splits the sky. Lin Xian roared angrily and swung his sword again. Suddenly the sword light surged and the blood-red sword chi surged out like a sea of blood. In an instant the green hammer was sent flying. It flew backward like a meteorite, leaving behind a series of afterimages in the air. Die. The middle-aged man was furious. He held the bronze hammer and swung it down mercilessly. Every strike created a bottomless black hole in the ground. The green hammer was vast and mighty, and it filled the entire sky. Its power could easily crush a second-rank supremacy. In an instant the ground completely sank and cracked into countless pieces. Lin Xian was still standing on the ground and did not move. The ground around him was also intact. He held the wind shadow sword and slashed out several sword chi. Each sword chi was 300 meters long and surged like a blood-red rainbow. Although the bronze hammer was terrifying and powerful, it was completely useless against the blood-red sword chi. After a short stalemate, it was mercilessly cut open. In the sky, the sword chi was vast and mighty like a heavenly pillar that swept across all directions. Lin Xian attacked with all his might, causing the entire sky to boil. Countless bursts of sword chi surged out from his hands, and they were several times more ferocious than before. Lin Xian slashed out several hundred times in a row. Every sword chi was as thick as a mountain and as fierce as a heavenly sword. It was extremely sharp. Tens of thousands of sword chis crisscrossed, the sword sky shattered. The entire sky was like a shattered mirror. It was incomparably terrifying. Everything within 1,000 miles was filled with blood-red sword chi. A monstrous aura of slaughter swept through everything. Bang! The bronze hammer was pushed back again and again, unable to withstand the force. The middle-aged man was even more shocked, and his pupils constricted. He did not expect his opponent to be so powerful. Every single one of those terrifying sword chis made him fearful. What a powerful spiritual energy. How old is he? How can he be so strong? The middle-aged man's pupils shrank. Even he wasn't able to launch so many attacks at once, but this young man was able to do so with ease. The disparity between them was obvious. This kind of person is definitely a great enemy of the family. We can't let him live. The middle-aged man's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He took out a purple elixir from his storage ring, and it quickly appeared. In the next moment, purple lines appeared on his body, spreading rapidly like demonic runes. Bang! 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 A deep sound rang out in the sky. The middle-aged man's muscles became even stronger, and his entire body expanded as if he had turned into a giant. He roared angrily, and the green hammer in his hand trembled. It quickly turned into a weapon that was 100 feet long, filling the sky. Die, you little thief! As the hammer fell, the sky lost its color and the ground was pierced through. A huge shadow shrouded Lin Xian, and the mountains and forests within 100 miles were all destroyed. Clang! The huge bronze demonic hammer slammed into the ground, shattering it into pieces. Lin Xian was crushed under the hammer, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. Ha 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 ha! The middle-aged giant looked up to the sky and laughed. His voice was like thunder, resounding in all directions. Genius martial artist? Young expert? That's all there is to it. You're still killed by my hammer. He was extremely proud, and his face was filled with arrogance. Beside him, the martial artist on the light sword also laughed. Fourth brother's sky-shaking hammer is indeed powerful. It's worthy of being a top-notch treasure that can crush everything. Not to mention that kid, even an ordinary third-level honorable realm martial artist wouldn't dare to fight against it. The middle-aged giant laughed. Indeed, no one can survive under my sky-shaking hammer. On the other side, the Huang family elder with the spear also heaved a sigh of relief. We've finally killed that little devil. Now we can return to report on our mission. Before he could finish his sentence, the ground beneath him began to tremble. Even the mountain-like heaven-shaking hammer began to tremble as if it was being lifted up by something. Oh no! That little thief isn't dead yet. The Huang family elder's expression changed. What? He didn't die. The middle-aged giant was also stunned, and his expression was extremely ugly. He had just boasted that nothing could survive under his sky-shaking hammer, but now that kid was still alive. This caused his expression to darken. Be careful. That kid is very strange. Don't let him escape. The two martial artists beside him looked solemn, and their auras became terrifying. It's all right. The middle-aged giant said. My sky-shaking hammer is no ordinary item. That attack definitely took away half of his life. Wait for me to attack again and I'll kill him completely. Clang. Another earth-shattering sound was heard, and the entire sky-shaking hammer trembled rapidly, making a buzzing sound. Damn kid, I want you dead. The middle-aged giant was enraged. All the muscles in his body burst out and a vast amount of energy was released. Bang, bang, bang. Countless rays of sword chi suddenly surged out from the ground, and they were like pillars that rose from the ground. Instantly, the ground within 100 miles radiated light, and it shone in all directions. Boom, boom, boom. Tens of thousands of sword chi rushed out, turning into a rain of swords that rushed into the sky. With a bang, the sky-shaking hammer was sent flying. On top of it, there were 8 rays of red sword chi that flowed rapidly along the surface of the hammer. Explode. In an instant, the sword chi reached the middle-aged giant's hand and quickly exploded, forming a terrifying impact. Ah, damn it. The middle-aged giant did not have time to react, and his entire hand was blown up, revealing deep white bones. I'll kill you. He roared into the sky and punched out. His fist shone brightly, and it was not inferior to the sky-shaking hammer at all. Meteor beyond the heavens. Below, a ray of light flashed, and it instantly pierced through the middle-aged giant's heart. Whoosh! Lin Xian's figure appeared in the sky, and he looked extremely fierce. Below, there was an additional bloody hole where the heart of the middle-aged giant was. His enormous body also fell heavily to the ground. Bang! The ground cracked and blood gathered to form a river. This scene was too shocking. The two nearby martial artists were stunned. Just a moment ago, the arrogant middle-aged giant had died just like that? This made the two of them feel a little unreal. Buzz. In the void, the sword chi fell again, slashing at the two of them. The two of them were shocked, but they recovered from the shock and quickly dodged. They were shining brightly, and like ghosts, they ran amok in the void. Chapter 8:16. Boom. In an instant, the void was blasted apart. The terrifying force was like a demonic mountain, crashing towards the martial artist holding the purple spear. Oh no! The martial artist was shocked and hurriedly dodged. The sky-shaking hammer was a top-tier spirit-grade treasure, and it was extremely powerful. It was said to be able to shake the heavens, so one could imagine how terrifying it was. Now that it was in Lin Xian's hands, it was even more powerful. Whoosh! Although it did not hit the martial artist, the strong wind caused him to tremble. Since you're here, don't think about going back. Lin Xian looked up to the sky and roared. His black hair fluttered in the wind as he held the sky-shaking hammer and killed in all directions. Phantom sword dance. On the other side, sword chi flickered and countless light swords surged out, filling heaven and earth. The sword chi crisscrossed and split the ground. Countless three-headed martial artists were cut off and turned into powder. Bang! Lin Xian held the sky-shaking hammer and swung it out. It drew a half-moon light in the air and instantly shattered all the light swords. Then he swung his sword again with his right hand. Thunder surged and countless lightning bolts fell from the sky. They merged with the sword chi and formed the thunder-killing sword, which was extremely terrifying. He used the concept of thunder in this sword, which was powerful and violent. It was like a heavenly tribulation as it slashed towards the martial artist. The martial artist standing on the light sword condensed a 300-meter-long light sword in his hand and swung it in all directions to resist the thunder. On the other side, spear radiance flickered and charged towards Lin Xian. Humph! Lin Xian's eyes flickered. He raised the great dragon sword soul to the extreme, and his combat strength soared. He swung his sword and cut the spear radiance that filled the sky. Then he used the concept of wind, and countless strong winds turned into wild blades that slashed towards the martial artist. Lin Xian fought against two martial artists at the same time, and he was extremely violent. The great dragon sword soul was too powerful. His combat strength was heaven-defying, and every sword strike made the martial artist spit out blood. Impossible, this is impossible. The two martial artists screamed and trembled. They could not believe that the young demon king in front of them was so powerful. The two martial artists were shocked and could not believe that they could not take down the martial artist even if they joined forces. Moreover, what shocked them even more was that the martial artist's attack power was too powerful, far exceeding that of a second-level honorable realm. Azura Evil Spike. Peerless Light Blade. The two middle-aged experts roared angrily. They exploded with powerful strength and displayed powerful martial skills, preparing to attack with all their might. Let's end this. Lin Xian also let out a long howl. He held the Wind Shadow Sword in his hand and slashed in the air. Gale Lightning Sword, Mountain River Cleaving Sword. A gigantic sword appeared in the sky, emitting an ancient aura. In the next moment, Lin Xian leaped into the air and swung out his golden palm, grabbing the firmament greatsword in his hand. Chop. Boom. The giant sword fell as if it was going to cut the world apart. The terrifying sword chi shattered the opponent's martial arts technique and quickly enveloped the two of them. This is impossible. The two of them were alarmed. Their strongest attack had actually been broken just like that? The two of them couldn't believe it. This is an Earth-rank martial art. One of them screamed, Earth-rank martial art, he actually has an Earth-rank martial art. Boom. The giant sword fell, cleaving through mountains and rivers and splitting the earth. When the sword chi disappeared, the two martial artists had already disappeared. Not even their corpses were left behind. The power of an Earth-rank martial art was terrifying. Now that Lin Xian's cultivation had become stronger, his Earth-rank martial art had also become more terrifying. Not to mention the two of them, even an ordinary third-rank honorable martial artist would find it difficult to withstand. This was the importance of a martial arts grade. Once it was related to the word Earth-rank, it would be superior to everyone else. This was the case for an Earth-rank martial art and even more so for an Earth-rank artifact. However, a true Earth-rank artifact had not appeared for many years. This was also the reason why a half-Earth-rank artifact was so precious. It was an extremely powerful existence. If he had a half-Earth-rank artifact, Lin Xian would have been able to end the battle with one strike. After carving the word Lin on the ground, Lin Xian disappeared on the spot. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, a deafening sound came from the depths of the forest. A gigantic green hammer fell from the sky and pierced through the earth. Lin Xian sprinted all the way back to Windy City. He had already killed many people and it was time to go back. At this moment, the Wanxiang auction had already begun in Windy City. As expected of a top-notch auction, every item would drive people crazy. In a VIP room, Hong Wuji sat with an evil smile on his face. He looked down at the auction with narrowed eyes. This time he was only here for one item. That was the half-Earth rank artifact, the Lone Star Sword. He was not interested in anything else for the time being. In another VIP room, the upper echelons of the Huang family were gathered. One of them had a gloomy expression. It was the Huang family's great elder. What's wrong? The pursuers haven't returned yet? He frowned and asked. Not yet, but there shouldn't be any problem. The person beside him said. Let's ignore them for now. This time we must get the Crimson Phoenix blood gold. The great elder's eyes flickered with incomparable sharpness. Outside Windy City, Lin Xian's path was blocked. Without saying anything, the two of them started fighting. In order to save time, Lin Xian directly activated the Great Dragon Sword Soul and slashed out 9 shocking sword chi, killing his opponent. Until he reached the city gate, he met another person. I knew you would come back. The person sneered, it's your bad luck to meet me. He launched an attack with a terrifying martial skill. However, a streak of sword light split his attack into 2 halves. Bang! The powerful spiritual energy attack sent him flying. What? This is impossible. You are the 9th one. Lin Xian's expression was cold and indifferent. His body's killing intent soared to the sky. You killed them. Feeling the shocking killing intent from Lin Xian, the person's expression changed. It was too terrifying. Just the killing intent alone made his heart tremble. There was no way to fight, there was no way to fight. No, I have to go back and inform the great elder. The person did not dare to fight anymore and quickly fled back into the city. Wanna leave? Trash. Lin Xian sneered and moved quickly into the city. Great elder, this is bad. The person was like lightning. He moved through the void and quickly ran toward the Wanxiang auction. Boom. Behind him, Lin Xian wielded the sky-shaking hammer and struck out. The terrifying green hammer was like a mountain, covering the sky and casting a large shadow over the person. What is that? At this moment, everyone in the city raised their heads and saw the scene in the sky. They were so frightened that their scalps went numb. In the sky, the terrifying force surged and pressed down in all directions, causing everyone's faces to turn pale. Boom. Buff. The giant hammer fell and smashed the person into a bloody mist. The person was already above the Wanxiang auction. He was only one step away from escaping, but he was still smashed into pieces. Who is that? It's so terrifying. Sky-shaking hammer, it's the sky-shaking hammer. Someone exclaimed. Isn't that the weapon of the Lung family's expert? Why is it attacking the Huang family? Everyone was stunned. The Lung family and the Huang family were connected by marriage, so they were very close. But now, something like this had happened. It was shocking. Is there a conflict between the two families? Chapter 8:17. In the Windy City, the martial artists below looked up at the sky in horror. It was too terrifying. A powerful and mysterious martial artist wielding the Lung family's treasure smashed the Huang family's elder into meat paste. This scene shocked everyone. He's not the Lung family's expert. Who is he? The crowd raised their heads in shock. What happened? Why is the Lung family's treasure in someone else's hands? That person, could he be the scholar genius? Someone recognized Lin Xian and exclaimed. I heard that he killed the Lung and Huang family's genius martial artists and is wanted by the two families. I didn't expect him to appear now. Yeah, not only did he appear, but he's also so powerful. He killed the Huang family's elder in one move. This is a blatant provocation. I'm afraid the Huang and Lung families won't let this go. The crowd discussed excitedly. Lin Xian kept the sky-shaking hammer and descended. He then walked towards the Wanxiang auction. I'm sorry, the auction has already started. No one is allowed to enter during this period. A martial artist walked out and blocked Lin Xian's path. Lin Xian didn't say anything, but his eyes darkened. The surrounding martial artists started to discuss again. No wonder he appeared in such a hurry. He wants to participate in the auction. What a pity. Once the auction starts, you can't enter anymore. This is the rule. Yeah, I'm afraid he'll have to return empty-handed. At this time, the remaining Huang and Lung family disciples couldn't withstand Lin Xian's aura. They were so scared that they almost peed their pants. They all fled into the distance. Lin Xian's eyes were cold as he looked around. At this time, the void fluctuated. Countless rays of light shot up and pierced through the escaping martial artists. What? Someone else attacked. The crowd was shocked again. They didn't expect that other than Lin Xian, there would be someone else who dared to attack the Huang family. Boom. A tall young man landed, causing the ground to tremble. The crowd looked over and saw that the young man had a stocky build. He was abnormally tall, like an iron tower. Young Master Xian. Dong Feng. Lin Xian was stunned. He then smiled. It seemed that the people from the Dragon Sword Pavilion were here. Seeing the two of them talking, the crowd cried out in surprise. The two of them actually knew each other. No wonder they dared to make a move against the Huang clan. At this time, Yu Fei and Wang Li also flew over. Older brother Xian. Lin Xian nodded and asked, where are the others? They're all in the courtyard. However, due to time constraints, only a few came. The rest are still on their way. The distance between the Flying Tiger City and the Wind-Seeking City was not close. This time, only a few powerful cultivators had arrived. Most of the people were still on their way. Older brother Xian, isn't it an auction? Why don't you go in? Wang Li asked. Hey, we want to go in. No, the auction house has rules. No one is allowed to enter halfway. The auction house's cultivator said firmly. At this moment, another fluctuation came from afar. Boom, boom, boom. The void trembled as if 10,000 horses were galloping. A low and deep voice spread in all directions. Several black dots appeared in the sky. At first they were very small, but in the blink of an eye they arrived nearby. Brr, brr, brr. A terrifying roar rang out, causing everyone's faces to turn pale. Many people looked at the sky in horror. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. There were 3 figures in the sky. They were 3 strange beasts that were shining with light. The one in the middle was a fierce white tiger with light yellow tiger stripes on its body. Its eyes were bright and it emitted a terrifying aura. On its back sat a beautiful woman. Her eyes were filled with disdain and arrogance. On both sides was a demon wolf. On the other side was a white jade demonic elephant. Its body was as big as a mountain and it could crush the air with a casual step. 2 young men sat on each of the beasts. Their expressions were cold and their auras were powerful. Demon General, 1-star Demon General. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. These 3 powerful demon generals were actually mounts. This was too inconceivable. One should know that a demon general was equivalent to a human honorable. They were the overlords of a region. Their dignity was inviolable. Now they were willing to be mounts. Moreover, there were 3 of them. Who were these 3 people? How could they have such a powerful background? It seems that we're late? The young man on the left chuckled. It's okay. It's not too late to go in now. The young man on the right said coldly. Boom, boom, boom. The three demon generals landed on the ground. Their terrifying auras formed countless gusts of wind that swept in all directions. When the three of them landed, the ground shook. The three of them did not come down. Instead, they rode the three demon generals and slowly walked towards the Wanxiang auction house. Are they going to enter the auction house too? The crowd was shocked. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. The three of you. The Wanxiang auction house martial artist's eyes flickered and he hesitated. To be able to have three demon generals as mounts, they must be of extraordinary status. He could not afford to offend such people. The young man on the right snorted and took out a token. The martial artist's pupils shrank and he said, Please come in. You know what's good for you? The young man on the left nodded. Then the three of them waved their sleeves and kept the demon generals. Ta-ta-ta. The three of them walked into the auction house as if they were taking a stroll. They're in. The crowd was shocked. They did not expect the Wanxiang auction house to let them in. On the other hand, Lin Xian's face darkened. Wang Li and the rest did not look good either. They wanted to enter but were stopped by the martial artist who told them the rules of the auction house. They were not allowed to enter halfway. But now there were three people who came later than them but swaggered into the hall. This was obviously discrimination. Damn, what do you mean? Why can't we go in? And they can? Yu Fei was furious. Yes, are you looking down on us? Wang Li said coldly. You have to give us an explanation for this. Dong Fangxiong also stopped smiling. Explanation. The martial artist from the Wanxiang auction house sneered. What explanation do you want? Who are you and who are they? Let me tell you, they are disciples of the Yan family. Their status is very honorable. Yan family? Is that a big deal? So you are a country bumpkin who knows nothing. The martial artist sneered. Let me tell you, the Yan family is a subordinate force of young Master Lingfeng. Don't you think they are powerful? Young Master Lingfeng. The crowd gasped. He was one of the four great young masters of Jianghu. They did not expect the three of them to have such a background. Hearing this, Yu Fei and the rest did not look good. They were in the blood field and naturally knew about young Master Lingfeng. He was the grandson of the deputy palace master of the Palace of Aries. He was also the child of the martial honorable who was ranked third on the Blood Supreme leaderboard. His status was definitely terrifying. To be able to become his subordinate force, they were definitely powerful forces. Seeing the shocked faces of Yu Fei and the rest, the martial artist from the auction house sneered, I advise you to get lost. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude. With your status, don't even think about going in. Chapter 8:18. What if I don't? Lin Xian suddenly opened his mouth and sneered. He was furious. If the auction really had such a rule, he would not say anything. However, if they treated him differently because of his status, it would be a different matter. He would let these people know that he was not someone they could offend. Brat, I advise you not to cause any trouble at the Wanxiang auction, the cultivator sneered. Although you were able to kill the Huang family's elder with a single blow, you are nothing in the eyes of the Wanxiang auction. It's easy to kill you. How dare you? Wang Li shouted angrily. You should ask me if you dare to threaten young Master Xian. Dong Fangxiong stepped forward and emitted a powerful aura. What? You want to fight? The cultivator from the auction was disdainful. He snapped his fingers and 5 second-rank honorable realm cultivators walked out from behind him. They stared at Lin Xian and the others with unfriendly expressions. Kid, you don't have the right to fight in front of me. Seeing this, the surrounding people were shocked. Oh my god, that kid won't really fight, right? No one with a brain would do that. The Wanxiang auction is not something the Huang family can compare to. Not only are they powerful, but they also have a terrifying force behind them. Yeah, I heard that they are related to young Master Ling Feng, a group of people discussed, and none of them thought highly of Lin Xian. Kid, did you hear that? Get out of here if you know what's good for you. The cultivator from the auction sneered. With your status, you won't be able to enter. Status? Lin Xian laughed. What kind of status do you want? What status? Don't waste your energy. Even the Huang family head would not dare to be impudent in the Wanxiang auction. The cultivator from the auction was extremely powerful. Lin Xian ignored him and turned around. Go and call those people over. Yes. Wang Li quickly left. Call them? Okay, I'll wait for you. The cultivator from the auction sneered. If you can make me take a step back today, I'll let you in. Lin Xian ignored him and stood with his hands behind his back. Yu Fei sneered, take a step back? You'll be scared to death. He really wanted to see how these people would react when they saw the members of the Dragonsword Pavilion. The auction house's martial artist crossed his arms in front of his chest, a look of disdain on his face. Today he wanted to see just what kind of people the other party could summon. Putting everything else aside, there was no one in Fengwen City that the Wanxiang auction house was afraid of. The surrounding warriors were also discussing, this guy, who is he? Who else could it be? Even a third-layer martial highness would not dare to offend the Wanxiang auction. But looking at him, he seems to be very calm. It's like he has a card up his sleeve. Who knows? Maybe he's pretending. Everyone was discussing what Lin Xian was trying to do. At this moment, ripples appeared in the sky once again. It was like boiling water, violently boiling. What is that? Someone raised his head and exclaimed. Countless black figures appeared on the horizon. They were different from the three people from before. They were not black dots but dark clouds. Like a dark cloud, it was fast and beautiful. Boom, boom. The sky trembled, accompanied by a vast and terrifying aura. The aura was too terrifying. It was like an ancient demon mountain, pressing down on everyone, making it hard for them to breathe. Everyone below was pale. Their auras were tumbling and their bodies were trembling. Many of the weaker ones directly fell to the ground. Even the second-layer martial highnesses of the Wanxiang auction house were no exception. They circulated their spiritual energy and resisted with all their might. Boom, boom. In the sky, the dark clouds drifted and finally stopped above the Wanxiang auction house. This time, everyone saw it clearly. People, they're people. Not only were they people, but they were also experts. They were all experts. Second-layer martial highnesses. Everyone was shocked and could not believe it. Many of the figures in the sky were second-layer martial highnesses. There were even first-layer martial highnesses. When these people were added together, they could defy the heavens. Someone counted and found that there were a total of 50 people, all of them young martial artists. What kind of power is this? They actually have so many young experts. Everyone was stunned. This power was too strong. At least in Wind-Seeking City, no one could find so many young experts. The martial artist of the Wanxiang auction house was also shocked. He did not expect the other party to find so many experts. Damn it, who is this kid? How does he know so many young experts? Whoosh. 50 young experts descended from the sky and filled the street. Brother Xian. The 50 people moved in unison and shouted respectfully at the figure in front of them. Lin Xian nodded and turned to look in front of him. To be exact, he was looking at the people of the Wanxiang auction house. Now, do I have the right? Boom. The crowd was shocked and everyone was shocked. Brother Xian? These young experts are calling him Brother Xian? This is too shocking. Are these people the underlings of the scholar? Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back. At this moment, he had regained his true appearance. He was like a king looking down at the people in front of him. No, impossible. The martial artist of the Wanxiang auction house was in disbelief and he started to tremble. Not long ago he had mocked Lin Xian and said that he did not have the right to enter. Now Lin Xian was the leader of this group of young geniuses. This change was too fast and the people of the Wanxiang auction house could not accept it. Hearing Lin Xian's voice, the 50 people raised their heads and looked in front of them. Their faces were filled with anger and their gazes were like swords converging together. These gazes converged into a torrent that surged forward and sent the people of the Wanxiang auction house flying. They were too powerful. The combined force of the 50 honorables was extremely terrifying. The martial artists of the Wanxiang auction house were unable to resist and were sent flying like kites. This was especially true for the cultivator who had mocked Lin Xian earlier. He vomited large mouthfuls of blood. In that instant he had suffered an extremely serious internal injury. Lin Xian walked forward slowly and asked calmly, "Do I have the right?" His voice was not loud but it was filled with determination. "You want the right? Fine, I'll give you the right." However, Lin Xian did not care if you could accept the right or not. The martial artist vomited blood again. He collapsed weakly and fainted. Lin Xian raised his head and looked at the others. "Who among you can make the decision?" Feeling the gaze, the martial artists trembled and smiled bitterly. Although they were second-rank honorables, they could not make the decision. At this moment, a few figures flew out from the Wanxiang auction house. "Who dares to cause trouble at the Wanxiang auction house?" A loud voice was heard and it was filled with endless pressure. The voice was overbearing and it turned into an energy palm that slammed down. In his opinion, whoever dared to cause trouble at the Wanxiang auction house had to be suppressed first. However, he had made a huge mistake this time. The people below were not people he could provoke. Boom. Chapter 8:19. An old man came out from the intersection of the Wanxiang auction. He immediately attacked with his palm in an attempt to suppress the intruders. In his opinion, whoever dared to cause trouble at the Wanxiang auction should be suppressed first. However, he was wrong this time. The 50 martial highnesses below were infuriated, unleashing a terrifying aura that surged upward like a deity. Bang! Without any hesitation, the palm formed by the sound wave was instantly shattered, while the old man was sent flying like a kite while vomiting blood. Elder! Many cultivators exclaimed and sprang into the sky. However, they were stunned when they saw the scene below. It was a terrifying scene. 50 martial highnesses gathered together, as if an ancient deity had been reborn, extremely powerful. In front of them stood a young man wearing a blue shirt, standing there like an emperor. "Who's in charge? Come out." Lin Xian's voice could be heard, spreading to the surroundings. Powerful, too powerful. The crowd was shocked, unable to believe it. In the wind-seeking city, the Wanxiang auction was considered a dominating presence. No one dared to challenge it. But now, a young man was suppressing the Wanxiang auction. How shocking. Soon, the people of the Wanxiang auction understood what had happened. Their faces turned dark as if they could not wait to beat the guards to death. A bunch of trash. Are you blind? How dare you offend someone like him? Soon, an old woman with a walking stick walked out and asked in a deep voice. "I'm in charge. What are you doing here?" "Participating in the auction." Lin Xian's voice was firm. "Sure. Please wait." The old woman said, "I'll report it now." "No need, I'll go straight in." Lin Xian shook his head and said in a cold tone. After such a long delay, half of the auction had already been completed. He was unsure if the Crimson Phoenix blood gold had been sold. Therefore he had to enter the auction. The old woman was in a difficult position, but she let out a sigh after receiving Lin Xian's firm gaze. "All right, but only 3 of you can enter." "Sure." Lin Xian turned around and said, "Dongfang and Yufei, follow me. The rest of you wait here." "Yes," the crowd replied. Inside the Wanxiang auction, there was a heated atmosphere. The appearance of the Phoenix blood crimson gold caused the entire venue to reach a new height. After many parties fought over it, it was finally won by the Huang family. "Ah! The Phoenix blood crimson gold is finally in my hands." Inside the VIP room, the Huang family's grand elder was overjoyed. "With this, we might be able to refine a supreme-grade artifact." A supreme-grade artifact. Hearing that, the other elders of the Huang family also felt their hearts burning with excitement. Top-grade treasures were even better than top-grade treasures. They were the best of all spirit-grade treasures. That power, that value, it was second only to a half-earth-rank treasure. It was also a rare treasure. This time, the Huang family elder wanted to refine a set of inner armor, so he desperately wanted to obtain the Phoenix blood crimson gold. Alright, the auction for the Phoenix blood crimson gold is over. That kind of top-grade refining material is extremely rare. I'm afraid a single piece won't be enough to satisfy everyone's needs. Moreover, we only have 1 piece in our auction. However, right now there is another treasure. Its value is even above the Phoenix blood crimson gold. I believe everyone will be interested. Even above the Phoenix blood crimson gold? Hearing this, the eyes of the martial artists in the auction house lit up. The Phoenix blood crimson gold was a supreme-grade refining material. If there was a powerful refiner, refining a half-earth-rank treasure wouldn't be a problem. But now, there was actually something even more precious than it? Could it be that thing? Someone was excited. Yes, it must be that thing. A half-earth-rank treasure. Only a half-earth-rank treasure could surpass the Phoenix blood crimson gold. It had to be known that although the Phoenix blood crimson gold was good, it wasn't easy to refine it into a half-earth-rank treasure. First, one needed to have a refiner grandmaster. And such a grandmaster refiner hadn't appeared in a long time. Therefore, in this situation, a half-earth-rank treasure was especially precious. On the crystal platform in front of them, the auction house elder smiled and said, "I believe everyone has already guessed. That's right, the item being auctioned this time is a half-earth-rank treasure. Lone Star Sword." Wah! The crowd boiled over. The entire auction house fell into a frenzy. Lone Star Sword, it really is the Lone Star Sword. A half-earth-rank treasure. I never thought that I would be able to see an Earth-ranked treasure in my life. Many people were excited. Although they knew that such a treasure would have a sky-high price and that ordinary people wouldn't be able to afford it. In fact, even ordinary forces wouldn't be able to obtain it. But this didn't stop them from going crazy, because just being able to see it was enough. On the crystal platform, the golden-robed elder took out a treasure box and slowly opened it. Suddenly the void trembled. A powerful and cold aura was emitted. This aura was terrifying and it instantly swept through the entire auction house. How terrifying! Everyone was shocked. Their hearts trembled. They didn't think that just a trace of aura would be so powerful. The auctioneer took a deep breath and slowly picked it up. Suddenly, a simple long sword appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The sword was 3 feet long and light blue. It was as dazzling as a star. On the body of the sword, there were traces of mysterious flowing light. As it rotated, it emitted a terrifying aura. On the side of the sword there were 2 ancient seals. 2 words were engraved, Lone Star. The auctioneer gently waved the sword. Suddenly, a ray of flowing sword energy gushed out. It cut through the air and accompanying it was a shocking baleful aura. Ka. The air couldn't withstand it and shattered. This was just a normal attack. It didn't contain any spiritual power. One could imagine how terrifying it was. If it was swung at full strength, it would probably be able to cut through the entire auction house. After a slight movement, the auctioneer put down the Lone Star sword and then closed the treasure box. We've asked countless blacksmiths to examine this Lone Star sword. It's definitely a half-Earth-ranked treasure. Moreover, I'm sure everyone has seen its power. It can't be fake. Alright, let's begin the auction. Half-Earth-ranked treasure Lone Star sword. The starting price is 100 million mid-grade spiritual stones. Each increment must be no less than 10 million mid-grade spiritual stones. 100 million. Everyone gasped. Their eyes were filled with madness. This number was an astronomical figure for ordinary martial artists. They could only look up to it, as expected of a half-Earth-ranked treasure. It was indeed heaven-defying. 200 million. A faint voice sounded, shocking everyone. Fuck, who is this? He doubled the price in an instant. What a big deal, what a big deal. That voice came from VIP room 6. Could it be Hong Wuji from Red Leaf Valley? Yes, it must be him. Only he would be so arrogant. He doubled the price right away. In VIP room 6, Hong Wuji sat up straight. His eyes were shining as he stared at the crystal platform below. Lone Star sword. He had waited for so long. He hadn't made a move in the previous auctions because he was waiting for the Lone Star sword. Chapter 820. 200 million. Hong Wuji shouted out the price and looked down with a fiery gaze. He knew that this price couldn't scare off those who really wanted the Lone Star sword, but he had to show a strong attitude. That was the arrogance of the Red Leaf Valley. Sure enough, the price of 200 million shocked the crowd of martial artists below. But soon someone called out a price. 210 million, 220 million. Soon bids came from all the VIP rooms, and the price of the Lone Star sword rose to 250 million. The crowd below was shocked. They could only look up at such a price, but the tense atmosphere made their blood boil. 270 million. Suddenly a low voice rang out, bringing with it a vast amount of pressure. This aura, could it be a third-level honorable? Many people were shocked. The sharp sword intent in the sky made them unable to raise their heads. Honorable Maniac sword. It's Honorable Maniac sword. Many people in the VIP rooms exclaimed. Clearly they were surprised by the identity of the bidder. Honorables were very powerful, but there was another type of honorable that was even more powerful, and that was the titled honorable. These people were extremely powerful even among the honorables. Honorable Maniac sword was such a martial artist. He was a third-level honorable, and because of his powerful sword techniques and terrifying combat strength, he was called Honorable Maniac sword. I didn't expect Honorable Maniac sword to come too. Yeah, looks like it's going to be more interesting this time. Honorable Maniac sword is not only powerful, but he also has a violent temper. If he doesn't get the Lone Star sword this time, he'll probably go crazy. Many people discussed, and some martial artists gave up bidding because of Honorable Maniac sword's words. However, not everyone was afraid of Honorable Maniac sword. In front of such a half-Earth class treasure, everyone was even more crazy. At least Hong Wuji didn't care. 300 million. His eyes were fanatical as he stared at the crystal platform below. The Lone Star sword must be mine. With the Red Leaf Valley behind him and his own strength, Hong Wuji wasn't afraid of Honorable Maniac's sword even though he couldn't beat him. Therefore he immediately raised the price after Honorable Maniac's sword made his bid. Wow, Red Leaf Valley made another bid. How arrogant. Yeah, he doesn't even take Venerable Maniac's sword seriously. Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect Hong Wuji to be so bold. The Maniac Sword Venerable also snorted coldly in VIP room number 3. He stood proudly, and his entire body was filled with an unyielding aura. 330 million. He bid again, 340 million. Other than Hong Wuji, there were other experts who bid. No one could remain rational in the face of such a treasure. The Huang family, the Lung family, and the other families were also bidding. Although he knew that they wouldn't be able to obtain this item, they still knew how to secretly raise the price. However, when the price reached 400 million, these families gave up. They had already raised the price a lot. If they continued, they would be targeted. Now, only the experts outside the Wind City were still persisting. Among them, the Frenzied Sword Highness and Hong Wuji were competing fiercely. Apart from them, there were a few others who did not speak much, but each time they did, it was shocking. 400 million. In a VIP room, a young man with a cold face spoke. Apart from him, there was also a frivolous young man and a beautiful woman. The three of them were the 3 disciples of the Yen family who had entered earlier. It seemed that they were also here for the Lone Star Sword. Hearing the bid, the crowd was shocked again. This was because the voice sounded very young, and they could tell that it was a young man. For a young martial artist to bid such a price, it was obvious that he had an extraordinary background. Hong Wuji also frowned. He did not expect that there would be another young martial artist who dared to bid other than him. He sneered and shouted again, 420 million, 430 million, 450 million. The two of them competed and neither of them gave in. The smell of gunpowder was strong. Who is this guy? How dare he compete with us? The cold young man frowned. As a disciple of the Yen family, even the Vientiane auction had to give him face. Now that someone dared to compete with them, it was a blatant provocation. Hong Wuji was also furious. As a disciple of the Red Leaf Valley, arrogance and haughtiness had always been his style. Now that someone dared to compete with him, he could not tolerate it. Therefore he bid again. Apart from that, a middle-aged beauty and a mysterious old man bid and competed with each other. In an instant, the smell of gunpowder was strong, and the atmosphere in the auction house was extremely tense. 500 million. Honorable Maniac Sword spoke again and everyone's eyelids twitched. 550 million. Hong Wuji did not back down and he quickly bid. Silence, absolute silence. Many people gave up bidding as the price had stopped most of them. Even the disciples of the Yen family frowned as the price made them hesitate. I would like to see who dares to be so arrogant. The cold young man snorted, someone dares to compete with us in Wind-Seeking City, he's courting death. Alright, stop bidding, we'll play it by ear. At this moment, the beautiful woman spoke. Kid, this sword is very important to me. Can you give it to me? I'll compensate you. Honorable Maniac Sword said in a deep voice. I don't lack anything, I just want this sword. Hong Wuji rejected on the spot. In VIP room 3, Honorable Maniac Sword snorted, and his face turned gloomy. A flash of killing intent appeared in his eyes, and it was like a sword radiance. He did not bid, but a cold smile appeared on his face. Obviously he wanted to kill Hong Wuji. In the Blood Realm it was common to kill and steal. Although Hong Wuji was from the Red Leaf Valley, he was willing to do anything for the half-earth rank artifact. As long as he got the Lone Star Sword, his strength would increase greatly. Moreover, in the Blood Realm, Red Leaf Valley might not be able to do anything to him. Therefore he decided to kill Hong Wuji in an instant. Honorable Maniac Sword did not say anything, and the others did not bid either. Perhaps they had the same idea as Honorable Maniac Sword. But no matter what, the whole place was eerily quiet. Everyone was shocked, as they did not expect that even Honorable Maniac Sword could not compete with Hong Wuji. Hong Wuji, on the other hand, was excited. He clenched his fists and his eyes were filled with excitement. Finally, after such a long time, he got the Lone Star Sword. 550 million, anyone else? The auctioneer asked. Seeing that no one answered, he slowly said, 550 million going once. 550 million going twice. 550 million going thrice. Deal. Before the word deal could be shouted, the auction house's door was suddenly opened with a bang. Then a powerful aura and blazing light rushed in, causing the whole auction house to fall into a frenzy. Everyone turned to look. 1 billion. Chapter 821. The person in the lead was a young man in a blue shirt. He had a handsome face and a sharp gaze. He walked over quickly with a supreme aura. I'll bid 1 billion. 1 billion. The crowd was shocked and could not believe it. Even the auctioneer was stunned. On one hand, he was shocked by the person's bid. On the other hand, someone who could enter the auction in the middle of the auction must have an extraordinary status. Humph, you'll lose your life if you make a false bid. A cold voice was heard. Many people sneered in disbelief. After all, 1 billion spiritual stones was an astronomical figure. Boom, boom, boom. Boxes of spiritual stones flew out from the storage ring and filled the hall. Each box was shining brightly and made the void tremble. Soon, the entire sky was filled with spiritual stones. Do you think I'll lie? Lin Xian said disdainfully. The martial artist who mocked him earlier was speechless and snorted angrily. The others were shocked and dumbfounded. It was too shocking. It was the first time they had seen so many spiritual stones. Although Hong Wuji had bid 500 million, it was just a number and the crowd did not have a clear idea of it. Now the sky was filled with spiritual stones and there were even more spiritual stones flying out from the storage ring. The scene was too shocking and unforgettable. Is it enough? Do you want me to take out all the spiritual stones? Lin Xian stood in the middle of the hall and said calmly. Yes, it's enough. The auctioneer took a deep breath and smiled warmly. Sir, please keep the spiritual stones. If the auction is successful, someone will come to receive you. The auctioneer's attitude was completely different from before. Lin Xian nodded and waved his sleeve, collecting the spirit stones that filled the sky. He did not go to the VIP room. Instead, he found a place to sit with Dongfang Xiong and the other two. The auctioneer took a deep breath and said loudly, 1 billion spiritual stones. Sir, you've bid 1 billion spiritual stones. Are there any more bids? Hearing that, the crowd fell silent. Even the forces in the VIP room did not make a sound. Hong Wuji looked down and his face was terrifyingly gloomy. He had already stood up from the soft chair and walked to the front of the crystal, staring down. His body trembled slightly. A terrifying aura and sword intent filled the air and froze the entire space. It's him. Hong Wuji frowned. He naturally recognized Lin Xian, but he did not expect him to be able to take out so many spiritual stones. Young master, what should we do? At the back, the young woman with an oval face asked. This kid dares to fight with young master for something, he's really reckless. Why don't I go and kill him now? Reckless? Humph. Hong Wuji laughed, his face carrying a hint of evil charm. You're right, he really doesn't know what's good for him. Just ignore him and let him bid. He'll soon know that the Lone Star Sword isn't something that can be bought with money. His words were filled with intense killing intent. It was obvious that he wanted to kill. Not only him but the other experts who were bidding were also sneering. In VIP room number 3, Venerable Maniac Sword's eyes were filled with killing intent. He couldn't help but laugh wildly. Previously, he had been somewhat worried about losing to Hong Wuji in the bidding. After all, Hong Wuji was a member of Red Leaf Valley and had a special status. If he were to kill Hong Wuji, the consequences would be severe. However, things were different now. He didn't know this young man who was bidding. Even the others didn't know him. This meant that the other party didn't have a strong background and was just rich. For such a person, it was fine to kill him. He posed no threat. It seems like the Lone Star Sword is destined to be mine. Venerable Maniac Sword sneered and sat down. Now he just had to wait for the transaction to end. For a moment, countless pairs of eyes stared at Lin Xian. Lin Xian naturally knew. However, even if he were to buy it secretly, he would be discovered. After all, such a precious artifact would attract everyone's attention. It was impossible to take it away without anyone noticing. Rather than that, he might as well take it openly. At least he could intimidate some martial artists who didn't know the truth. Moreover, he had 50 members of the Dragon Sword Pavilion. He was confident that he could bring the Lone Star Sword out. 1 billion going once. 1 billion spiritual stones going twice. The auctioneer said twice. He was overjoyed. This price was twice as high as the previous price. It was far beyond his expectations. 1 billion spiritual stones going thrice. Sold. A loud voice resounded throughout the auction hall. Countless people cried out in shock. They couldn't believe it. Exciting, too exciting. This was probably the highest bid in the Vientiane auction in the past few decades. When he heard the auctioneer's voice, Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. He was late, so the Crimson Phoenix Blood Gold had already been sold. If he wasn't strong enough, he might have even missed the Lone Star Sword. The current situation wasn't too bad. He just had to find out the whereabouts of the Crimson Phoenix Blood Gold. He would leave this matter to Yu Fei. As the Lone Star Sword was sold, the auction came to an end. The martial artists who had won the bid all stood up and walked backstage. Lin Xian also stood up and walked backstage. Just as he moved, he felt countless gazes on him. Some of them were extremely arrogant. The killing intent in their eyes was not concealed at all. Do these people really think that I'm easy to bully? Lin Xian sneered in his heart and walked forward. Hong Wuji was even more arrogant. He walked directly in front of Su Mo and exuded a strong killing intent. The killing intent was so strong that it froze the entire space. A sharp aura surged towards Lin Xian. Crack, crack, crack. Lin Xian's gaze was like a sword that pierced forward. It was extremely sharp and was comparable to a weapon. When the two collided, a deep sound was heard. The energy fluctuations caused the entire space to tremble. The crowd was shocked. They knew that the Lone Star Sword wouldn't be obtained so easily, but they didn't expect someone to make a move now. Boom. Seeing that someone was making a move, Dongfang Xiong also stood out. A terrifying aura surged from his body like a demonic mountain that covered the entire area. You want to fight? I'll take you on. However, Lin Xian reached out and stopped him. The most important thing now was to obtain the Lone Star Sword. Otherwise, it would be meaningless to fight. Lin Xian ignored them. He turned around and quickly walked back. Looking at his back, many people sneered. The killing intent in their eyes was undisguised. Lin Xian went backstage and there was a special envoy to receive him. Soon he saw the auctioneer. Young master, this is the Lone Star Sword. The auctioneer was an old man in a golden robe. He flipped his palm and took out a treasure box. Then the old man looked at Lin Xian with a smile. Lin Xian nodded and threw out 3 storage rings. 1 billion spiritual stones was too much. 1 storage ring couldn't contain all of them. The old man in the golden robe took the storage rings and checked them with his soul power. He then smiled in satisfaction. 1 billion spiritual stones, not one less. Chapter 822. Now the Lone Star Sword belongs to you. Lin Xian took a deep breath and took the square treasure box. Then he slowly opened it. An ancient long sword lay quietly in the treasure box, emitting a cold light. It was like a star in the sky, shining in solitude. Lin Xian reached out and grabbed the hilt. He immediately felt a cold sharpness and a crazy sword intent. He knew that the sword had gained sentience. This was an instinctive resistance. With a light snort, Lin Xian also had a sword intent in his body, which he quickly injected into the Lone Star Sword. Boom. The two forces collided and were in a stalemate. However, in the next moment, the dragon sword spirit erupted and pounced into the Lone Star Sword like an angry dragon. Buzz. The Lone Star Sword trembled as if it had come alive. It emitted a terrifying light, and the sharpness was several times stronger than before. So powerful. Lin Xian praised. Holding the Lone Star Sword, he felt like he controlled the world. It was a mysterious feeling as if he was one with the sword. It was intoxicating. Beside him, the auctioneer was even more shocked. It was really shocking to be able to subdue a half-Earth-rank treasure so quickly. One had to know that he could only activate it and could not subdue it at all. Lin Xian did not put away the Lone Star Sword. Instead, he took out the black scabbard and slowly inserted it. Then, his spiritual power turned into threads and he carried the ancient sword on his back. Goodbye. Lin Xian turned around and walked out. Outside the backstage, countless people gathered. Their eyes were emitting a terrifying light that flickered coldly from time to time. They were waiting for Lin Xian to come out. He's here. Someone whispered. Immediately, everyone looked forward. They saw a young man in a blue shirt slowly walking out of the passage. On his back there was an ancient sword. His entire person was like a divine sword that was unstoppable. The Lone Star Sword. Countless people exclaimed, their eyes burning with passion. In the distance, the onlooking martial artists were even more shocked. They did not expect Lin Xian to carry the Lone Star Sword on his back without hiding it at all. How confident must he be to dare to do so? At least you know your place. You know that you can't keep your treasured sword, so you might as well not hide it anymore. Someone sneered. Brat, hand over the sword and I won't kill you. The Lone Star Sword isn't something you can take. Cold gazes fell on Lin Xian as if they wanted to pierce through him. Lin Xian snorted coldly and swept his gaze across the area. His gaze was like a sharp sword that streaked across the air. Ding ding 111. Many people retreated, their faces pale. Their eyes were filled with shock. The other party had actually forced them to retreat with a single glance. The other people's expressions changed as well. Their opponent's strength was beyond their imagination. However, Hong Wuji, the maniac sword highness, and the others simply let out hollow laughs. The gaze was not enough to scare them off. Everyone, fighting is prohibited in the auction. The golden-robed elder walked out and said with a grave expression. Although the Wanxiang auction house had a huge influence in the city, it was inevitable that these people would go crazy when faced with a half-earth rank artifact. Therefore it was better to warn them in advance. Elder Jean, don't worry, we won't fight here. Some martial artists expressed their stance. Brat, let's go. A man with a goatee said coldly. Soon after, the crowd opened up a path. Let's go. Lin Xian called out to Dongfang Xiong and Yu Fei before walking out. He's courting death. He actually dares to go out. If I were him, I'd hide here for the rest of my life. Yeah, in such a situation he'll die if he goes out. A group of people discussed among themselves. They felt that Lin Xian was too foolish and that he would be courting death if he went out. Yu Fei sneered when he heard the discussion. If these people knew how many people were waiting for them outside, would they cry? Ta-da-da. Lin Xian's footsteps were steady as he walked towards the exit. The people behind him became nervous. Many of them secretly circulated their spiritual energy and pulled out their artifacts, preparing to attack. They decided that they would act as soon as Lin Xian stepped out of the door. This was a crucial moment. Whoever could obtain the sword first and leave safely would have a meteoric rise. The space froze and the atmosphere was tense. Everyone's eyes flickered as they stared at Lin Xian. In the next moment, Lin Xian finally stepped out of the auction house's door. Attack! Countless people exclaimed as their spiritual energy erupted and surged forward. Brother Xian. The light gradually grew brighter as orderly shouts came from outside. It was as if an army was marching, shocking everyone. Those voices condensed into a force that blasted in all directions. Dozens of figures spat out blood and were sent flying. Bang bang bang. These people crashed into the nearby buildings and let out a low sound. Those martial artists who didn't make a move were also affected and their faces turned pale. What? Everyone was stunned when they saw the situation in front of them. In front of them, 50 young men looked at Lin Xian respectfully. Their auras were powerful and they all had the pressure of a supremacy. Supremacies, 50 supremacies. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air, not daring to believe it. There were 50 supremacies waiting to protect Lin Xian. No wonder he wasn't afraid. He had such a trump card. Even powerful warriors like Hong Wuji and Maniac Sword Supremacy had their pupils constricted. Although they were powerful, they couldn't handle 50 supremacies at the same time. Moreover, there was an expert like Lin Xian among them. For a moment, the scene became incomparably silent. Snatch it, why aren't you snatching it? Yu Fei sneered as he looked around. Weren't they all arrogant before? Why were they all terrified now? He was furious. Just now at the auction house, these people acted high and mighty as if they were going to eat them. That kind of atmosphere made him extremely unhappy. So now he wanted to vent his anger. Bringing 10 supremacies with him, Yu Fei arrived at the injured martial artists. Aren't you guys very arrogant? You dare to snatch Brother Xian's treasured sword? What, they dare to snatch Brother Xian's things? The disciples of the Dragon Sword Pavilion became anxious when they heard this. All of them looked at those people with fire in their eyes. Bang. One of them flew up and kicked a martial artist, causing him to spit out a large mouthful of blood. Yu Fei arrived in front of the martial artist with the goatee, raised his palm and ruthlessly slapped him a few times. Pa pa pa. Soon that martial artist turned into a pig's head. None of the martial artists who made a move were spared. They were all beaten up. The others also didn't dare to make a move. What a joke, who could beat 50 supremacies? Let's go together. I don't believe that we can't beat them. Someone was secretly instigating. Humph. Lin Xian's gaze focused, he raised his hand and slashed out a ray of sword chi, instantly sending the person hiding in the dark flying. Whoever wants to make a move, I'll accompany you to the end. His gaze looked around with an endless domineering aura. No one made a move. Many of the weaker martial artists retreated. However, not everyone had this kind of rationality. Many people were blinded by the treasures. Chapter 823. Wait, who allowed you to leave? A cold voice sounded. Lin Xian stopped in his tracks and turned around. Whoosh, Wherever he looked, the crowd immediately dispersed. No one dared to stand. However, 3 silhouettes remained unmoved and continued to stand there. 2 men and 1 woman. They were handsome and had powerful auras. "It's them, the disciples of the Yen family," someone exclaimed. They did not expect the disciples of the Yen family to make a move. Lin Xian also frowned. He had seen these 3 people before. Not long ago, the 3 of them had swaggered into the auction hall right in front of him. At that time, he knew that they were disciples of the Yen family. However, he did not expect them to make a move now. The youth on the left had an evil smile and a cynical look. He stared at Lin Xian and said with a smile, "Since you have obtained the treasured sword, why are you in such a hurry to leave? Why don't you take it out and let everyone see?" The cold youth on the right snorted, "Why are you wasting your breath on him? Just kill him." "But he only has 1 head. Are you going to kill him or should I?" The evil youth Yen Chong laughed. "That's easy. We'll attack at the same time. Whoever kills him first will get the Lone Star Sword." The cold youth Yen Ling said. "That's a good idea. I like it." The evil youth Yen Chong nodded. "However, his storage ring will be mine. I guess there should be a lot of good stuff inside." "Sure." The cold youth Yen Ling did not refute. The 2 of them conversed as if Lin Xian was prey waiting to be slaughtered at any time. In their opinion, only the disciples of the Yen family were worthy of possessing a peerless treasure like the Lone Star Sword. No one else was worthy of it. Hearing their words, the disciples of the Dragon Sword Pavilion trembled with anger. Their eyes were filled with anger. "Brother Xian, let me kill them." Wang Li gritted his teeth and said, "No need. I'll do it myself." Lin Xian stopped them and said in a deep voice. His eyes flashed with a cold light and a murderous intent. He had spent 1 billion spirit stones to buy the Lone Star Sword. There was only one outcome for anyone who dared to target him. That was death. Lin Xian's body surged with killing intent, like a killing sword, surging towards the sky. However, this did not frighten the Yen clan's disciples. Instead, it aroused their disdain. "Kid, I'll let you know that you don't deserve to have the Lone Star Sword." The evil-looking youth Yen Chong laughed nastily. "Only the genius disciples of our Yen clan are worthy of it." The cold young man's eyes carried a trace of disdain. The 2 of them were like 2 bolts of lightning rushing over quickly. Whoosh! The evil-looking young man attacked. His body was like a ghost. Wherever he passed, grayish-white petals would fall. Those flower petals spun about, slicing through space, incomparably sharp. On the other side, the cold-faced youth attacked as well. A piercing chill spread out and filled the entire space. Accompanying it was a terrifying murderous aura. The 2 of them flew through the air, creating a terrifying aura as they charged forward. It was like a mountain flood or a tsunami. A god of death had descended. The entire earth was shaking, and many buildings in the distance were destroyed beyond recognition by the overflowing aura. How terrifying! Everyone was shocked. The 2 of them were like gods, emotionless and terrifying. It was chilling. Both of them were top young geniuses. Individually, they could crush a group of people. Now that they were together, they were definitely the most terrifying force. In the distance, everyone was trembling. Many of them broke out in cold sweat and their clothes were soaked. This terrifying aura was not something they could contend against. The sharp and terrifying aura was still spreading out. Everyone's hearts were trembling more and more. They could not help but worry for Lin Xian. "I'm afraid that Lin Xian is in danger. He can't resist the joint attack of 2 peerless geniuses. Why do the 2 of them have to attack? I think one of them can kill him." As expected, the Lone Star Sword is not that easy to obtain. Not only does it require money, but it also requires strength to keep it. The surrounding martial artists who wanted to snatch the sword sneered. In their opinion, Lin Xian was only relying on the strength of the team behind him. If it was a one-on-one battle, any one of them would be able to kill him. But Lin Xian was stupid enough to fight the Yen family's genius alone. He was courting death. At this moment, no one was optimistic about Lin Xian's chances. Feeling the cold aura in the air, Lin Xian's expression was cold. The sword intent on his body became more dignified. It was like a peerless divine sword that was slowly unsheathed. "Die." A cold voice rang out. Then a terrifying sword chi cut through the void and slashed towards Lin Xian. That sword chi was incomparably dazzling. It was like a silver snake dancing. The sword light swam and tore through the void in an instant. Kid, die." On the other side, the evil youth Yen Chong also slashed over with a petal-like sword chi. The 2 terrifying sword chis intertwined. It was vast and terrifying. "Destroy." Lin Xian's eyes flickered. The sword intent on his body suddenly exploded, and an invisible wave of qi spread out in all directions. At this moment, a huge sword qi pierced through the clouds, connecting the heaven and earth. This sword was too powerful. It was as if it could split the heaven and earth. That terrifying murderous aura caused everyone to tremble. The evil youth Yan Chong and the cold-looking youth Yan Ling were equally shocked. They looked at the scene in disbelief. Lin Xian's strength was beyond their imagination. He might even be stronger than them. This is impossible. The two of them screamed in their hearts. However, in the next moment, Lin Xian turned into a sword radiance and rushed towards the two of them. In an instant, the dazzling sword qi in the air was cut apart. It was like a piece of cloth that was mercilessly torn apart. An even more terrifying blood-red sword qi swept across and instantly slashed the cold-looking youth. A blood-curdling scream was heard. Blood splattered and the entire space was dyed red. Everyone's heart trembled. They quickly looked over and saw the cold-looking youth's body split into two from the middle. What was even more strange was that the blood that gushed out quickly gathered in the air and formed a blood-red sword. It was scarlet and had a monstrous murderous aura. What? He's dead. Everyone was shocked. They did not expect the arrogant and powerful genius of the Yan family to be killed in one move. A wave of fear spread through the crowd. Those martial artists who were eyeing the Lone Star Sword were even more horrified. Many of them trembled and gave up on the thought of snatching the sword. They did not think that they were stronger than the cold-looking youth Yan Ling. Since Lin Xian could kill Yan Ling in one move, killing them would be as easy as slaughtering dogs. Although a half-earth-class treasure sword was good, one needed to be alive to enjoy it. In an instant, half of the people had the thought of retreating. They did not dare to be enemies with Lin Xian. Impossible, this is impossible. The evil youth Yan Chong's face changed drastically. His eyes were filled with disbelief. The person he regarded as an ant had killed his comrade in one move. This scene was too shocking. He could not accept it. After killing Yan Ling in one move, Lin Xian did not have any expression. He turned his eyes and stared at Yan Chong. "You, what are you trying to do?" Chapter 824. Kit, I'm warning you. I'm a disciple of the Yan family. If you dare to touch me, you're dead. Yan Chong had lost the courage to attack. He could only use his family's identity to suppress Lin Xian. However, in front of others, that insufferably arrogant identity of a disciple of the Yan family was nothing in front of Lin Xian. A disciple of the Yan family? Lin Xian sneered. I've already killed a disciple of the Yan family. Do you think the Yan family will reconcile with me? Since I've already offended them, what's the difference between killing one or two? Lin Xian's face was cold. He had no intention of letting the other party go. Feeling Lin Xian's gaze and the cold murderous aura, the evil youth's heart sank. He knew that no matter what, Lin Xian would not let him go. At this moment, his heart was filled with regret. Why did he have to be the first one to intercept Lin Xian? If they had waited for a moment for someone else to make a move, they would have known how terrifying Lin Xian was. Perhaps they would not have made a move. But now it was too late. Thinking of this, the evil youth roared. Once again, a powerful aura exploded from his body. Endless spiritual qi surged out like a torrential sea. It's not that easy to kill me. His black hair fluttered in the wind, making him look extremely evil. Countless grayish-white petals spun around him, forming a demonic sword aura. You were able to succeed just now because we were careless. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to kill Yan Ling in one move. The evil youth calmed down and a terrifying light flashed in his eyes. Indeed, the two of them had not taken Lin Xian seriously. Therefore, although their attacks were terrifying, they were only ordinary attacks. In his opinion, they must have underestimated their opponent. Now that he had summoned his martial soul, he would definitely be able to kill Lin Xian in one move. At this thought, confidence returned to his eyes and a wicked smile appeared on his face. This time I won't give you a chance. I'll go all out and kill you in one move. Is that so? I'm looking forward to it. Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back, looking like a sword sage. He did not use the Lone Star Sword on his back. Instead, he waved his arm and controlled the blood-red longsword in the sky. You're courting death. The evil young man roared. His black hair fluttered in the wind as it transformed into a terrifying sword qi that quickly slashed towards Lin Xian. Behind him, a grayish-white snake-shaped longsword was formed, emitting a terrifying aura. Die brat. This time he unleashed his martial soul with all his might. His combat strength was several times stronger than before. However, the other party dared to look down on him, using only his arm to control the blood sword in the sky. This kind of casual attitude made him go crazy. Just you wait, you will pay the price for your insolence. The demonic youth Yan Chong had a ferocious expression on his face. He swore that he would definitely behead Lin Xian with this strike. Boom. The entire void trembled. The originally clear sky was now filled with countless blood-red auras, forming a sea of blood. The sea of blood surged, releasing rumbling sounds. That aura made one's heart tremble. In the middle of the blood sea, there was a blood-red longsword. It was demonic and scarlet, and it emitted a monstrous killing aura. Under the guidance of Lin Xian's arm, the terrifying blood-red killing sword turned into a bolt of lightning and slashed downwards. In the next instant, it collided with the evil young man Yan Chong. Rumble. Oppressive and terrifying sounds spread in all directions, and waves of berserk energy poured down in torrents. There were countless blood-red sword chi in the energy, which was like a blood-red river that swept across all directions. It was a terrifying sight. Yan Chong was completely surrounded by the blood-red sword chi. Looking at the terrifying scene in the sky, the crowd trembled and gasped. It was too terrifying and shocking. They did not expect Lin Xian's casual strike to create such a terrifying aura. They wondered if Yan Chong could withstand it. In the distance, Hong Wuji, Honorable Maniac Sword, and the rest frowned. Every time Lin Xian attacked, he would become stronger. It was as though his combat strength was limitless. The situation made them look grave and uneasy. It seemed that it would not be easy to snatch the Lone Star Sword from Lin Xian. The crowd had different expressions. At that moment, the blood-red sword chi in the sky gradually disappeared. The crowd held their breaths and looked up. They wanted to know if the evil young man Yan Chong had withstood the attack. However, in the next moment they were all stunned. The sky became clear again. However, Yan Chong was nowhere to be seen. It was as though he had evaporated and disappeared into thin air. Could he have dodged it? Someone looked around in confusion. Yes, he must have dodged it. Below, the last disciple of the Yan family, the beautiful lady, gripped the corner of her clothes nervously. She looked uneasy and kept comforting herself. However, after a long time, Yan Chong's figure was still nowhere to be seen. Could he have been killed? Not even the bones are left? Finally, someone voiced out such a question. Like a plague, this idea quickly spread among the crowd and was finally accepted. Countless people stared blankly at the sky, speechless. Their hearts were numb. The young man in front of them was too mysterious and too powerful. He had killed the genius of the Yan family with just a casual strike. In the distance, the last girl in purple from the Yan family screamed. Her body trembled and her face was full of horror. You're dead. You killed the genius of the Yan family. No one can save you. The girl in purple screamed. The genius of the Yan family? Lin Xian sneered disdainfully. How can such a person be called a genius? In my opinion, he's worse than trash. The crowd was silent and agreed with Lin Xian's words. Perhaps in the eyes of the crowd, Yan Chong and Yan Chong were peerless geniuses. However, in the eyes of Lin Xian they were worthless. Otherwise, how could a true peerless genius be killed in a single strike? Lin Xian's lips curled into a cold smile as he slowly walked forward. What do you want? The girl in purple was so scared that her face turned pale. She no longer had her previous arrogance. The reason why they were so arrogant before was because the three of them were powerful and had extraordinary statuses. They could crush everything. Now, their strength and statuses were worthless in the eyes of Lin Xian. They had lost the right to be arrogant. If you dare come over, I'll kill you. The girl in purple had a sinister look on her face. She quickly threw out several weapons. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. 3 flying swords flew out. Each of them was a foot long and emitted a cold light. They quickly pierced through the void and slashed at Lin Xian. Ka. Lin Xian waved his sleeve and put away the 3 blue short swords. Then he walked forward without changing his pace. Save me. Jinbo, save me. The girl in purple screamed. In the next moment, a sigh was heard. Suddenly, a golden light shone and quickly condensed into a figure. It was an old man. He was the auctioneer who had hosted the auction. Chapter 825. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. It was rumored that young Master Ling Yun was behind the Wanxiang auction. No one believed it at first, but now it seemed like it was most likely true. Otherwise, a neutral force like the Wanxiang auction would not interfere with the underworld's grudges. Lin Xian's face darkened. He did not expect the auction to interfere. However, since he had made up his mind to kill, he would not change it. I have no grudges with the Wanxiang auction. I hope you won't interfere. As for the Yin family disciples, they were so arrogant when they wanted to kill me. Do you think I'll let them go? Lin Xian shook his head. The murderous intent in his eyes intensified. If that's the case, don't blame me for being rude. The elder in the golden robe snorted. The Wanxiang auction was so prestigious that no one dared to provoke them. However, there was someone who dared not disrespect them. To the elder in the golden robe, Lin Xian was too arrogant. However, he had forgotten that it was the 3 Yin family disciples who were arrogant and wanted to kill Lin Xian. They were the ones who wanted to kill him and steal his treasures. Their actions were despicable. However, they were not as strong and did not succeed. If it were anyone else, they would have been killed by the Yin family disciples. Seeing that Lin Xian did not give him face, the elder in the golden robe snorted. He quickly waved his hand and prepared to attack. Streaks of golden ripples shone like dragons as they circled around the golden-robed elder at high speed. In the next moment he punched out. A terrifying force surged out, accompanied by 9 golden dragons. On the other hand, Lin Xian sneered as he executed his earth-rank movement technique, and he transformed into a string of afterimages that instantly vanished. At the same time, he waved his fingers and shot out the 3 flying swords he had collected earlier. The 9 ferocious golden dragons missed and tore the void apart. The 3 flying swords were like lightning, instantly hitting the purple lady behind the elder in the golden robe. The purple lady could only let out a scream before she was pierced by the 3 flying swords and pinned to the building behind her. Kit, you're courting death. The elder in the golden robe was trembling with anger. He had already expressed his stance and wanted to protect the purple lady. However, the purple lady died in front of him after a short while. Face slapping, this was a blatant slap to the face. The golden-robed old man had a sinister look in his eyes as a terrifying aura emanated from his body. To be honest, he didn't care about the woman in purple's life or death. After all, they were merely allies with the Yen clan. It wasn't to the point where he had to risk his life for her. However, as an elder of the Wanxiang auction house, he could not tolerate the arrogant attitude of the other party. He did not put him in his eyes at all. He could ignore the purple-clothed girl's death, but he couldn't allow her to slap his face in public. Brat, you are very arrogant. No one has ever dared to go against the Wanxiang auction. The golden-robed old man's voice was cold and gloomy, emitting a terrifying murderous aura. Behind him, countless Wanxiang auction house martial artists quickly gathered. Competing in numbers? Dongfang Xiong sneered and strode out. His entire being was like an iron tower, causing the earth to tremble. Boom. The 50 members of the Dragon Sword Pavilion behind Lin Xian also took a step forward, and a terrifying aura rose from each of them. 50 powerful auras gathered together, suppressing everything. This power was too shocking, and it immediately intimidated the people of the Wanxiang auction house. The golden-robed old man's eyes were sinister, and his face was terrifyingly dark. Although the other party didn't have as many people as they did, every one of them was an elite genius that could suppress anyone. If a fight really broke out, the Wanxiang auction house would definitely suffer heavy losses. He was only an elder of the Wanxiang auction house, and he couldn't bear the consequences. Originally, he wanted to use his power to suppress the other party, but he didn't expect that the other party would easily neutralize his attack and even counterattack. This sullen feeling made the golden-robed old man want to vomit blood. For a moment, the golden-robed old man and the Wanxiang auction house martial artists behind him were in a dilemma, and they were all stunned. The surrounding martial artists were shocked. How many years had it been since anyone dared to go against the Wanxiang auction house? Even the Huang and Lung clans of Wind-Seeking City didn't dare to be so presumptuous. But now, a young man who wasn't even 20 years old had done such a shocking thing, and even successfully intimidated the Wanxiang auction house. This was too shocking. Looking at the sullen face of the other party, Lin Xian said coldly, I spent 1 billion spiritual stones to buy the Lone Star Sword, so it's naturally mine. But the 3 disciples of the Yen clan wanted to kill me and take the Lone Star Sword without spending a single cent. How can there be such a cheap thing in this world? The disciples of the 3 great clans actually did such a shady business of killing and robbing. How despicable. Killing and robbing. You were not strong enough and you were killed instead. You deserve to die. Lin Xian said coldly. And your Wanxiang auction house didn't care about the twists and turns, and didn't care about right or wrong. You actually protected the martial artist who killed and robbed. Such actions are despicable. Now you're angry out of humiliation and want to attack the auctioneer. I don't know what the Wanxiang auction house's principles are, but aren't you afraid that the world will be disappointed? Lin Xian's words were heartbreaking, and his voice was like thunder, resounding in all directions. Today's matter was too much and he felt angry just thinking about it. He was the one who bought the item, but the seller teamed up with the martial artists who killed and robbed and wanted to bully him. Such shameless actions could only be solved by killing and spilling blood. Hearing this, the crowd fell silent. Lin Xian was speaking the truth and there was no way to refute it. The old man in the golden robe and the Wanxiang sect martial artists behind him were so angry that they trembled. Their faces darkened and they wanted to vomit blood. Shameful, too shameful. They were being lectured by a junior, but they couldn't fight back. This feeling made them go crazy. Elder Jean, what are you waiting for? Leave now. Suddenly, a delicate voice was heard. Then the void rippled and a beautiful figure appeared. It was a beautiful woman in a palace dress, but she looked a little cold. She glanced at Elder Jean and said coldly, "What are you waiting for? Leave now." Elder Jean, who was originally arrogant, trembled when he was glanced at by that gaze. He quickly lowered his head. "I'll take my men and leave now." Then he waved his hand and led the group of martial artists away, entering the Wanxiang auction house. Seeing that Elder Jean and the others had left, the beautiful woman in the palace dress smiled at Lin Xian. Elder Jean and the others were in the wrong before. I hope you can forgive them. Lin Xian nodded slightly. Judging from the attitude of Elder Jean and the others, this beautiful woman in the palace dress was definitely a high-ranking member of the auction house. Moreover, from the aura that flowed out of her body, her strength was definitely far beyond Elder Jin's. Lin Xian didn't want to go against the Wanxiang auction house. He just wanted an explanation. Now that the Wanxiang auction house had apologized, he naturally wouldn't pursue the matter any further. Then the woman in the palace dress left, and everyone in the Wanxiang auction house left as well. They no longer cared about the outside world. Chapter 826. Let's return to the courtyard first. Lin Xian said. Although the Lone Star Sword was already in his hands, he didn't know who bought the Phoenix Blood Scarlet Gold. He had to find out. Now that the auction had just ended, it was a good time to find out. Moreover, those people hadn't gone far. Once they decided to find out, they would make a move. Otherwise, when those people left, it would be very difficult to find out. Originally, Lin Xian had the Lone Star Sword, so he would be in more danger if he stayed in Wind-Seeking City for one more day. However, for the Phoenix Blood Scarlet Gold, he had no choice but to take such a risk. How about this, Dongfang, you take your people and leave first. I'll stay here for a while and return to the academy when I have news. Brother Xian, we won't leave. Wang Li and the others said with a firm gaze. No, let's leave quickly. The Lone Star Sword's involvement is too great. Who knows what kind of terrifying person will appear in the future. It's too dangerous for you guys to stay here. Moreover, it's convenient for me to move alone. Even if I can't beat them, they can forget about keeping me here. Lin Xian had unlimited confidence. He had the Earth Tier movement technique and the mysterious Jade platform. Even if the other party was strong, he could still leave calmly. After knowing Lin Xian's life-saving methods, they agreed to return to the academy first. Yu Fei went out to gather information while Lin Xian hid in Wind-Seeking City. As for Dong Feng Xiong and Wang Li, they brought 50 Dragon Sword Pavilion disciples back to the academy overnight. 50 venerables were indeed a powerful force. Even Lin Xian was very tempted. However, this matter was too dangerous. The appearance of a peerless treasure like the Lone Star Sword would probably attract some terrifying warriors. If the Dragon Sword Pavilion disciples were injured in the battle, it would be a great loss to him. These people were all geniuses with extraordinary talent. At this moment they hadn't fully matured, so he didn't want them to take the risk. Moreover, it was indeed much more convenient for him to move alone. Firstly, he had the Earth Tier movement technique. Even a third-layer venerable wouldn't be his match in terms of speed. Furthermore, he had the heaven-changing art, a unique concealment method. If he wanted to leave, very few people could stop him. As for the blood mark in his body, it had already been destroyed by the Dragon Sword Spirit. At night, Lin Xian sat cross-legged in the courtyard, silently cultivating. There had been many battles in the past few days, and it could be said that it was very dangerous. The number of venerables he had killed in the past few days was more than the total number of venerables he had killed in the past. Although it was dangerous, the benefits were also huge. His Bloodsword Slaughter inheritance had successfully broken through to the second level and had reached the peak of the second level. It wouldn't take long for him to break through to the third level. This kind of breakthrough speed could be said to be shocking. One had to know that the Bloodsword Slaughter inheritance was a king's inheritance, and its degree of rarity and difficulty was comparable to an Earth-rank martial art. However, Lin Xian had almost reached the third level in such a short period of time. That cultivation speed was truly shocking. Of course, this was related to his battles. So many Venerable's blood essence had been absorbed by the blood sword, which was why the Bloodsword Slaughter inheritance could break through so quickly. At this time, everyone had already left, and only Lin Xian was left in the courtyard. The night breeze was gentle, causing the leaves to rustle. The hazy moonlight sprinkled down, covering a layer of gauze. At this moment, outside the courtyard, a figure swiftly appeared like a ghost. It was a middle-aged man with a white face and no beard. He looked at the courtyard in front of him, his eyes shining. At the same time, Lin Xian, who was in the courtyard, suddenly opened his eyes. A sharp sword light lit up in his eyes. "Since you're here, why don't you come in?" Lin Xian said indifferently. Outside the courtyard, the middle-aged man with a white face and no beard looked surprised. He then laughed loudly and said, "Young Master Lin is indeed a young genius. I admire you." Before he finished laughing, the middle-aged man had already turned into a ray of light and arrived in the courtyard. "Although I don't know who you are, I guess you're not here just to say a few words of praise, right?" Lin Xian said in a deep voice. "What's your purpose? Just say it." Young Master Lin is indeed straightforward. Luo Qingqiu smiled and said, "If that's the case, I'll say it directly. I wonder if young Master Lin is interested in joining our Wanxiang auction? Although today's matter was a misunderstanding, our Wanxiang auction sincerely invites you to join us this time. As long as you're willing, you can obtain a large amount of cultivation resources and a limitless future on the path of martial arts." Wanxiang auction? Lin Xian's eyes darkened, but his heart was filled with surprise. Although the courtyard he rented was not extremely secretive, it was not easy for an ordinary person to find it. At least, the Huang and Lung families had not found this place before. But now, in just half a day, the Wanxiang auction had already found out where he lived. This power was too shocking. The Wanxiang auction was indeed a dominating force in wind-seeking city. If such an opportunity was placed in front of an ordinary person, they would definitely be overjoyed. But Lin Xian would not. He would not join any force. But he would not reject immediately. At least, he had to find out more about the Wanxiang auction. "The things you mentioned, I can have them myself. Why should I join the Wanxiang auction?" Hearing Lin Xian's words, the middle-aged man laughed. His laughter was filled with confidence. "Young Master Lin, you may not know, but the Wanxiang auction is more than what you see on the surface. I can't tell you the details, but I can reveal a little to you. If you join us, you won't lose out. What you have now will be 10 times more than what you have now. This is a precious opportunity. I hope you won't miss it." "Let me think about it," Lin Xian said calmly. "If there's nothing else, please leave. I want to cultivate." Lin Xian's voice was very calm, but the rejection in his voice was very obvious. The middle-aged man's pupils shrank, revealing a trace of disbelief. However, as an important person in the auction, he still had the ability to maintain his composure. Soon, the middle-aged man regained his composure. He said in a deep voice, "Young hero, you now have a half-Earth rank artifact. I'm sure you're in trouble. If you join us, I can guarantee that your troubles will disappear instantly." It had to be said that this was a very tempting condition. After all, Lin Xian's current situation was extremely dangerous. If he was not careful, he would lose his life. But now, the middle-aged man was offering to protect him. It was a direct hit to Lin Xian's weakness. If it was anyone else, they would have agreed immediately. But Lin Xian was still unmoved. He had his own plans and already had his own force. He would not join another force. Therefore, when he heard the tempting offer, he was expressionless. "My answer is the same as before. Let me think about it. If I have an idea, I will look for you." Chapter 827. "Oh, young hero Lin, you have to think about it. After all, it's very dangerous to have a half-Earth rank artifact. Our Wanxiang auction doesn't want to see a genius like young hero Lin fall." Seeing that Lin Xian had rejected him twice, the middle-aged man's eyes turned gloomy and his voice carried a hint of coldness. After saying that, he waved his sleeve and disappeared from the courtyard. The moonlight was still there and a gentle breeze was blowing. Only the sound of leaves rustling could be heard. Lin Xian closed his eyes and entered into a state of cultivation again. Compared to the quiet courtyard, Windy City was not as quiet. The atmosphere in the city was tense and undercurrents were surging. Countless experts and families were secretly investigating, trying to find out more about Lin Xian. At the same time, many families joined forces and temporarily sealed off Windy City, intending to search by force. They had no choice. A half-Earth rank artifact was too tempting. That kind of artifact was extremely rare. If they could obtain it, their strength would definitely skyrocket. The Huang family, Lung family and other local families had the greatest advantage. They mobilized a large number of people to search the entire Windy City. Other experts also mobilized people from all over the blood field and rushed into Windy City. They all knew that Lin Xian had not left and was still in Windy City. At the same time, after the Yin family received the news that their disciple had been killed in Windy City, they were extremely exposed. They quickly sent a team and swore to capture the murderer. Of course, the Lone Star Sword was also their target. Countless undercurrents surged and the entire Windy City became a terrifying and dangerous place. At the same time, something shocking happened in Windy City again. A tall man with golden light shining all over his body stood in the air like a golden giant. His gaze was cold and his cold voice spread out like thunder. Who is Lin Xian? Come out and die. How can we let a nameless brat take a peerless treasure like the Lone Star Sword? Don't think that killing a disciple of the Yin family is a big deal. In my opinion, you are still not qualified to take the Lone Star Sword. The voice was extremely arrogant and resounded through the sky like thunder. He did not put Lin Xian in his eyes. Lin Xian, hand over the Lone Star Sword and I'll spare your life. In the sky, a golden figure roared. His terrifying voice was like thunder, spreading in all directions. Everyone was shocked and raised their heads to look at the sky. Who is this person? How arrogant. Did he not know how powerful Lin Xian was? That's the powerful existence that killed the genius of the Yen clan. It's actually him, Golden Sword Huang Jinsheng. Someone cried out in alarm. What? Gold Sword? Hearing this, many people sucked in a breath of cold air. No wonder he was so arrogant and dared to challenge Lin Xian. Who was Huang Jinsheng? Who is Huang Jinsheng? Is it very powerful? Someone asked in confusion. Of course he's powerful. He's a second-level venerated realm cultivator, and he's said to be unrivaled among second-level venerated realm cultivators. He's extremely powerful. It's said that even ordinary third-level honorables might not be his match. What? So powerful? When those people heard this, their hearts trembled. An invincible second-level honorable who could contend against a third-level honorable. Every piece of news was enough to show how powerful the figure in the sky was. He was definitely a very powerful opponent. Not only that, it said that he comprehended a metal-type sword soul. His attack power is extremely powerful and his battle strength is heaven-defying. Someone said another shocking piece of news. It seems like Lin Xian is in danger this time. Someone sighed. Yeah, Huang Jinsheng is really too powerful. He's much stronger than the 3 martial artists from the Yen clan. They're not even on the same level. I guess Lin Xian will definitely not come out. After all, he might have already left after getting the Lone Star Sword. Who would be stupid enough to appear at this juncture? Although Huang Jinsheng is powerful, he can't do anything if Lin Xian doesn't appear. In the sky, Huang Jinsheng also knew this. He snorted and said disdainfully, I didn't expect the Lone Star Sword, a half-Earth class treasure, to fall into the hands of a coward. How sad. The voice was extremely arrogant. He didn't take Lin Xian seriously at all. The surrounding people sighed. Although the other party's words were harsh and he wanted to provoke Lin Xian to come out, at this juncture, as long as he could protect the Lone Star Sword, it didn't matter if he was insulted a little. This was what most people thought, but it wasn't Lin Xian's idea. He looked at the sky and his eyes were filled with a strong murderous intent. In Lin Xian's life, regardless of whether his opponent was strong or not, he had never been weak. There was nothing to say about such an insult. Only by fighting and killing the other party could he prove himself. Moreover, as a martial artist, he wasn't afraid of a fight. In the next moment, Lin Xian carried the Lone Star Sword on his back and rushed into the sky in a flash. Buzz! The void rippled and he appeared in the sky. Lin Xian's appearance caused a huge commotion. Countless people looked at the sky and were shocked. They didn't expect Lin Xian to really come out. Could it be that he was confident in defeating Huang Jinsheng? You're Lin Xian? At this moment, Huang Jinsheng also looked at the figure in the sky. You haven't even seen me and you're already clamoring to kill me. Don't you think you're too arrogant? Lin Xian's eyes were gloomy and his voice was cold. Lone Star Sword. It's really you? You're Lin Xian. Huang Jinxing didn't care about Lin Xian's cold gaze. Instead, he stared at the quaint long sword on his back. He laughed loudly and said, "Kid, you really can't keep your composure. A mere provocation has led you out. Very well, let me kill you with my own hands. You're not worthy of the Lone Star Sword." Hearing Huang Jinxing's arrogant words, Lin Xian also laughed. In other words, there's no grudge between us. You want to kill me because you want to take the Lone Star Sword for yourself? That's right. Do I need a reason to kill you? Huang Jinxing was extremely domineering. Killing someone like you is no different than stepping on an ant. If you want to live, I can give you a chance. Kneel down obediently and hand over the Lone Star Sword with both hands. From then on, you'll be my servant. I might spare your life. Servant? Kneel down? Ah. Lin Xian looked up to the sky and laughed. His black hair fluttered in the wind like a demon. In the next moment, his laughter suddenly stopped. A cold sword light shone from his eyes. Do you have any last words? Lin Xian's voice was cold. Hearing this, the crowd below was shocked. Huang Jinxing was extremely arrogant and domineering. He didn't take Lin Xian seriously at all. He didn't even need a reason to kill him. Lin Xian exceeded everyone's expectations. Not only did he offer himself, his arrogant attitude was even more domineering than Huang Jinxing's. Last words. Chapter 828. You're the first person in Wind-Seeking City who dares to talk to me like that. I've decided not to kill you immediately. I'll torture you for 49 days and let you bleed to the last drop of blood in your body. I'll let you die in endless fear. Huang Jinxing revealed a sinister smile and stared at his opponent like a demon. In the next moment, his body shone with golden light and countless rays of light turned into golden poisonous snakes that quickly rushed forward. The golden light emitted a strong killing intent as if it could pierce through everything. What a terrifying attack. That Lin Xian is probably in danger. He actually dared to anger Huang Jinxing. Someone sighed. Lin Xian's expression was cold as he raised his hand and used the vermilion bird seal. In the next moment, monstrous flames soared and swept through the 9 heavens. A flaming divine bird quickly rushed out and pounced forward. The void trembled as countless divine flames jumped and wrapped around the golden light, melting it and burning it quickly. Ah, you can actually break my attack. You really have some skills. Huang Jinxing revealed a surprised expression. Interesting, but he still couldn't escape death. He snorted coldly. Suddenly, a shocking golden sword ray rushed out from his body and quickly grew in the air, slashing toward Lin Xian. It was like golden thunder carrying a violent and terrifying power. Lin Xian, on the other hand, focused his gaze and casually waved his palm in the air. Boom. The void fluctuated and quickly formed a huge blood-red palm that slapped toward the shocking golden sword chi. A terrifying sound rang out as the two attacks collided in the void, bursting out a terrifying wave of energy. Huang Jinxing snorted coldly. His expression was gloomy as he couldn't take down his opponent in 2 moves. Therefore, he decided to take the 3rd move seriously and kill his opponent. Brat, I've played enough. Go to hell. Huang Jinxing sneered. The light outside his body shone even brighter like a sun, shining in all directions. Outside his body, a huge golden giant shadow appeared. It stood indomitable and roared at the sky. Boom. In the next moment, the golden giant was enraged and punched downward. That power was too violent, and the air was instantly blasted apart. The golden fist was like a divine stone from outer space, shining with light. The terrifying energy was like a vast ocean, incomparably vast. It's over. Huang Jinxing is getting serious. This power is too terrifying. It can even injure a 3rd-level venerable. I'm afraid that Lin Xian won't be able to take it. Not necessarily. If the other party uses the Lone Star Sword, he might still be able to stand his ground. However, what shocked everyone even more was that Lin Xian stood in the air without any intention of using the Lone Star Sword. What is this guy doing? Does he really want to resist this move with his bare hands? Who knows? Perhaps he won't even have the chance to draw his sword under this heaven-shocking aura. Someone sneered. Huang Jinxing naturally saw this scene as well. He laughed disdainfully and said, I really don't know if you're an idiot or just overconfident. You actually didn't use the Lone Star Sword. If that's the case, then go to hell. At the end of his speech, the golden fist shone even brighter. It was like a sun that crashed into the ground from the void. Huang Jinxing looked down at Lin Xian with disdain in his eyes. If the other party had used the Lone Star Sword, there might have been a chance for him to resist. However, it seemed that the other party was stupid and did not even use the Lone Star Sword. He was not interested in such an opponent at all. However, Lin Xian shook his head slightly. I don't need the Lone Star Sword to kill you. He let out a long roar and the blood in his body surged. The spiritual power in his body circulated rapidly, and a terrifying power shot up into the sky. Lin Xian swung his fist and punched out. It was also a golden light that condensed into a golden fist that met the attack head-on. However, the difference between his fist and his opponent's was that his fist was made up of golden lightning. It was extremely masculine and filled with violent energy. What? Is he really going to fight with his bare hands? And he's going to fight with his fist? Is this guy crazy? Does he think that his physical body can resist the giant's shadow? Everyone exclaimed in disbelief. Seeing this, Huang Jinxing sneered disdainfully. What an idiot. How dare he fight with his fist? I really don't understand how the Lone Star Sword ended up in the hands of an idiot like you. Lin Xian did not answer because the two fists had already collided. The scene was very strange. The golden giant's fist was as heavy as a mountain, and it crushed the void. On the other hand, it was a fist the size of an ordinary person. No matter how one looked at it, the two of them were not on the same level. To be honest, no one thought that Lin Xian would win. They all thought that he would be turned into a pile of flesh and blood under this punch. However, in the next moment, the two fists collided with a terrifying sound. A blazing light flashed and swept in all directions. The entire space collapsed horribly. Rumble. A thunderous sound was heard in the void, and the sky was filled with violent light. Everyone looked up at the sky and they were all dumbstruck, rooted to the spot. That was because in this shocking collision, the huge golden giant's shadow began to collapse. First, the mountain-like fist shattered with a boom, turning into countless rays of light that scattered in the void. Then, the entire arm began to disintegrate. In the end, the golden giant's shadow roared at the sky in pain. It struggled and resisted with all its might, but it was powerless. In the end, it could not escape the fate of collapse. With just one punch, the golden giant's shadow collapsed and disappeared. In the void, Huang Jinxing kept retreating like a bolt of lightning. A stream of bright red blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. On the other hand, Lin Xian stood in the void like a king. Kill Lin Xian? Steal the Lone Star Sword? Lin Xian sneered. In his opinion, the other party was just a clown that was not worth mentioning. The crowd below was even more shocked. Countless people's hearts were beating wildly in disbelief. Lin Xian was too powerful. He could actually injure Huang Jinxing with one punch. No wonder he dared to come out. It turned out that he had the strength to fight against Huang Jinxing. Everyone's eyelids twitched. They realized that the reason Lin Xian came out was not because he was provoked or because he wanted to die, but because he had the strength to fight against the other party. He could even suppress the other party. Very well, you've successfully angered me. Huang Jinxing's face was terrifyingly dark. Next, I'll make sure you die without a burial place. Cut the crap. Since the moment you set your eyes on the Lone Star Sword, your fate has been sealed. Lin Xian's voice was icy cold. Brat, you're very arrogant. I admit that you have some strength, but you have no chance of winning against my martial soul. My martial soul is a metal elemental martial soul. Its attack is extremely powerful and can even kill a third-rank honorable realm cultivator. What do you have to compete with me? Huang Jinxing's face was hideous. He roared furiously and quickly summoned his martial soul. In the next instant, a long sword appeared in front of him. It was 10 feet long and was entirely platinum in color. It emitted a terrifying aura. Chapter 829. Platinum Longsword. Huang Jinxing's martial soul is terrifying. The sword is the king of weapons, and the metal element is the strongest offensive element. The combination of the two is extremely sharp. No wonder Huang Jinxing was rumored to be able to kill a rank 3 honorable martial artist. It seems like the rumors are true. Lin Xian is in danger. Lin Xian was strong, but he was still inferior to Huang Jinxing's platinum longsword martial soul. Looking at the terrifying platinum longsword in the sky, Lin Xian's lips curled into a smile and a look of disdain flashed across his eyes. Competing in offense? He sneered in his heart. What martial soul could compare to the great dragon sword soul? In terms of offense, if the Great Dragon Sword Soul claimed to be number 1, no one would dare to claim to be number 2. Looking at Huang Jinxing's arrogant face, Lin Xian said indifferently, "I'm curious. What will your expression be when the platinum longsword that you are so proud of breaks?" "Stop bragging. You can't possibly withstand my martial soul." Huang Jinxing was absolutely confident. His martial soul had contributed a lot to him and was extremely powerful. He did not believe that Lin Xian could withstand his martial soul's attack. Below, the crowd was shocked when they heard Lin Xian's words. How is it possible that the platinum longsword broke? Even with the Lone Star Sword he can't do it. Bragging, he must be bragging. How can he defeat his opponent's metal element martial soul? The crowd shook their heads in disbelief. However, in the next moment they were stunned. A blood-red longsword appeared in Lin Xian's hand. It emitted a terrifying spiritual energy and a destructive aura spread out in all directions. The terrifying aura was even more terrifying than Huang Jinxing's platinum longsword martial soul. This sword contained the blood-killing sword inheritance and the power of the Great Dragon Sword Soul. It was extremely sharp. The two of them were too terrifying. The crowd below trembled. The strength of the two of them had surpassed that of an ordinary rank 2 honorable martial artist. Die brat. Huang Jinxing's face changed when he felt the terrifying aura from his opponent's blood sword. He was shocked and no longer hesitated, he quickly attacked. In the sky, the platinum longsword martial spirit waved, causing the clouds in the sky to collapse. It was as if the heavens and earth were being split apart. The scene was extremely terrifying. At the same time, Lin Xian also swung his blood-red sword and slashed out. The earth trembled and the blood sea surged. The entire wind-seeking city seemed to be shaking non-stop. The earth-shattering collision almost sent the entire city flying. The violent sword chi connected the heavens and the earth, sweeping in all directions. After a long time, the world finally regained its tranquility. Everyone was shocked and raised their heads to look. In the sky, Huang Jinxing's hair was disheveled, and his body was covered in blood. In front of him, the platinum longsword martial spirit was dim, and there were even cracks on it. What? Huang Jinxing was defeated? Everyone exclaimed in disbelief. Could it be that Lin Xian was so strong that even the powerful Huang Jinxing was no match for him? Impossible, this is impossible. How could you possibly break my platinum longsword martial spirit? Huang Jinxing yelled madly, his face filled with disbelief. In the past, as long as he used his martial spirit, no matter how strong the enemy was, he could kill them. However, this time, the martial spirit attack that he was so proud of had failed and was almost shattered by his opponent. He could not accept it at that moment. Huang Jinxing's body was covered in wounds and his face was filled with disbelief. On the opposite side, Lin Xian held the sword of slaughter in his hand and walked toward him step by step. Previously, I was curious about your expression after being defeated. But now it seems that it is indeed ugly. Huang Jinxing trembled with anger, but there was nothing he could do. He had no choice. He had already used his strongest martial spirit, but it did not hurt his opponent at all. This meant that his opponent's strength was completely above his. It seemed that he had miscalculated this time. I admit that you are strong. I was wrong before. I don't want the Lone Star Sword anymore. Hearing this, everyone below was shocked. The incomparably arrogant Huang Jinxing had actually lowered his head and spoke in such a humble manner? Was this still the same Huang Jinxing who killed everyone because of a disagreement? It seemed that Lin Xian was indeed powerful to be able to subdue such a demon king. Don't want it anymore? Lin Xian laughed. What do you think this is? Playing house. Do you think you can just give it up like that? He sneered and shook his head. You fight and kill whenever you want and you don't want it anymore. Have you considered my feelings? I have no enmity with you. We don't even know each other. However, as soon as you entered Windy City, you insulted me in front of everyone. Have you considered my dignity? When I appeared, you wanted to kill me without saying anything. You wanted to take the Lone Star Sword for yourself. Have you considered my feelings? If I wasn't stronger than you, I'm afraid I would have been killed by you. Now that you can't defeat me, do you think you can escape unscathed by saying that you don't want it anymore? Is there anything so simple in this world? Lin Xian sneered and looked at Huang Jinxing as if he was looking at an idiot. Then what do you want? Huang Jinxing held his chest and said while clenching his teeth. I've said it before. Since the moment you set your eyes on the Lone Star Sword, your fate has been decided. There's only one outcome for you and that's death. Hearing this, Huang Jinxing was stunned. A mocking look appeared in his eyes. I'm from the Golden Palace. How dare you touch me? The reason why he was so arrogant and looked down on everyone was that he was not only powerful, but he was also from the Golden Palace. The Golden Palace was a terrifying force. It was also very famous in the blood field. It was said that the Golden Palace controlled 18 huge cities. Each city owner was at the third heaven of the honorable realm. With such terrifying strength, no one dared to offend them. However, Lin Xian was unmoved. The Golden Palace? I've never heard of it. Even if I know, so what? Since you've said your last words, prepare to die. He slowly raised his arm. At this moment, Huang Jinxing finally revealed a fearful expression. Lin Xian did not care about his identity and insisted on killing him. You're dead. If you kill me, the Golden Palace will not let you go. Before he could finish his sentence, a blood sword soared into the sky. Huang Jinxing's head flew up and exploded, turning into a bloody mist. Dead? He's dead? The people below were shocked and could not believe it. They did not expect Lin Xian to be so decisive. He killed without any hesitation. What an arrogant young man. After knowing Huang Jinxing's identity, he still attacked without mercy. He's very decisive. Many people exclaimed. If it were anyone else, they would have retreated long ago. However, Lin Xian did not hesitate at all and killed him directly. No one could compare to his decisiveness. However, not everyone appreciated it. Many people sneered. Since he dared to kill Huang Jinxing, he was definitely going to die. That's right. The Golden Palace's strength is not to be underestimated. Moreover, Huang Jinxing did not come alone. I think it won't be long before the Golden Palace's experts know about it. By then, Lin Xian will have nowhere to go. Chapter 830. Moreover, so what if the Golden Palace was powerful? Lin Xian was not someone who was afraid of death. What was the purpose of practicing martial arts? Other than pursuing a longer lifespan and enjoying wealth and power, it was to be free and unfettered in the martial world. Being free and unrestrained was what Lin Xian yearned for. If he was timid and overcautious in everything he did, what was the point of practicing martial arts? In his opinion, martial arts strength was used to break free from all restraints and shackles. It was the most fundamental guarantee of being free and unfettered in the world. And he too was advancing step by step towards the goal of his dream. Lin Xian did not leave after killing Huang Jinxing. He heard the crowd's conversation and found out that there were some martial artists behind Huang Jinxing. He thought that they would come to seek revenge soon. Therefore, in order to not have any worries, he planned to get rid of them all at once. With a wave of his sleeve, Lin Xian put away the other party's storage ring. Then the headless corpse exploded, forming a bloody mist that filled the sky. Under the guidance of Lin Xian's finger, countless spiritual qi and fresh blood quickly rolled in the bloody mist, forming a pavilion in the air. The entire pavilion was red like blood jade. It was crystal clear and floated in the air. It was no different from a real palace. Transformation. The crowd below was shocked when they saw this scene. Martial artists of the three spirit realms would be able to use this kind of technique to transform. Generally, they could only use it in martial arts. Only venerable ones could maintain the transformation technique for a long time. This was because only at this level could one freely control the spiritual qi between heaven and earth. However, ordinary venerable ones would not use this method casually because to maintain the transformation required a huge amount of spiritual qi and pure spiritual power. Although venerable ones could mobilize the spiritual qi of heaven and earth without limit, there was also a problem of conversion rate. That was the degree of utilization of spiritual qi. This problem was determined by the cultivation method. Almost no martial artists below the third heaven of venerable ones dared to use this transformation method, let alone when they were about to face a fierce battle soon. When Lin Xian heard the shock from below, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. He had long since mastered this technique. It was just that he was using it now. Moreover, when he used this method, he did not have to worry about the conversion of spiritual energy like other martial artists. That was because the longevity incantation in his body could solve all of this very well. His cultivation and transformation speed was definitely far superior to those of the same level. Even Lin Xian had yet to figure out what level of cultivation method the art of longevity was. In a flash, he walked toward the blood-colored palace and quickly entered it. The interior was no different from a real palace. Lin Xian slowly sat down, took out a cup of spirit wine from his storage ring, and slowly tasted it. Then he rummaged through Huang Jinxing's ring of holding to organize his spoils of war. What is this Lin Xian doing? After killing Huang Jinxing, he's still not leaving. Could it be that he's not afraid of death? From the looks of it, could it be that he's waiting for the others from the Golden Palace to come? Someone was bewildered. Below, no one left. They were all watching silently. They wanted to know how Lin Xian was going to deal with the wrath of the Golden Palace. Not long after, the void trembled and a long howl rolled over like the waves of the sea. Accompanying it was a monstrous and terrifying aura. The void fluctuated and spiritual energy surged over like the waves of the sea. What's that? Countless people were shocked and looked up at the sky. At this moment in the sky, countless black shadows were moving quickly like ghosts. They joined together and floated over like dark clouds. Demonic beasts. Someone exclaimed, because they realized that the black shadows were huge iron-clawed eagles. Above the iron-clawed eagles, there were countless figures, each of them carrying a strong murderous aura. In an instant, the iron-clawed eagles filled the sky and arrived near the blood-colored palace. At the forefront was a goshawk that was dozens of feet long. Its feathers were like steel, shining with a metallic luster. On the back of the beast was a bald martial artist. His eyes were fierce and his aura was powerful. He quickly sensed his surroundings and then his face turned ugly. Who dares to kill the disciples of the Golden Palace? Come out and die. His voice was loud and clear, like the roar of a ferocious beast. It spread clearly in all directions. The Golden Palace, the people from the Golden Palace are here. Countless people were shocked. They did not expect the other party to arrive so quickly. The void was silent, and no one answered the bald man's question. Humph, how dare you kill the disciples of the Golden Palace? Even if you run to the ends of the earth, you can't escape death. The bald man sneered and stretched out his arm. Golden light flickered and formed a dragon that rushed down quickly. Dragon hand. In the next moment, a martial artist was surrounded by the golden dragon and carried into the sky. Speak, who killed the disciples of the Golden Palace? The bald man's face was ferocious as he stared at the innocent martial artist. The martial artist was just an ordinary spectator. His cultivation had not reached the honorable realm, and he could not speak in front of the powerful aura of an honorable realm martial artist. However, in the bald man's eyes, he was looking down on the Golden Palace and harboring a criminal. If you don't speak, you can only die. The bald man sneered and exerted force in his palm. Suddenly, the golden dragon roared and tore the innocent martial artist to pieces. Blood mist drifted and the pungent smell of blood filled the air. Seeing this, the martial artists below felt their scalps go numb. They did not dare to stay any longer and fled into the distance. Demon. The people from the Golden Palace were demons. They did not need any reason to kill. As long as they were in a bad mood, they could kill at will. No one dared to stay any longer because they might die if they were not careful. However, the bald man was determined to find out who the murderer was. How could he let these people go? The golden dragon in his hand roared again and swooped down. In an instant, it brought up two martial artists. I'll give you a chance. Tell me who the murderer is. If you don't speak, you can only die. One of them was shocked by the murderous aura and could not speak. The other shouted crazily, I'll speak, I'll speak. The murderer is Lin Xian. He's in the Blood Palace. I'm done. Can you let me go now? The martial artist gasped for breath. Lin Xian? The bald man looked around and saw the Blood Palace not far away. Suddenly, his face turned ferocious. Let you go? How is that possible? How dare you watch the disciples of the Golden Palace being killed? You deserve to die. The bald man did not listen to reason. He exerted force in his palm and instantly crushed the two martial artists. Bloody and arrogant. These people did not listen to reason at all. There was only killing in their eyes. Lin Xian, right? How dare you kill the people of the Golden Palace? I'll let you know what it means to live a life worse than death. The bald man looked at the Blood Palace and let out a sharp roar. Lin Xian, come out and die. Chapter 831. The void trembled like boiling water. The terrifying sound waves were like roaring thunder as they rushed towards the blood-colored palace. Boom. There was a deep sound and the entire palace shook as if it was about to split open. However, in the next moment, the Crimson Palace quickly stabilized and released a crimson light. A crimson sword chi quickly condensed and slashed forward. In an instant, the crimson sword chi slashed the sound waves in half. You dare to resist? The bald man's face turned gloomy. He was now sure that the person in the Crimson Palace was the murderer. Rush in and bring the murderer out. I want to kill him, slice by slice. The bald man waved his hand. Suddenly, countless goshawks behind him spread their wings and turned into streaks of black shadows that rushed forward. On the backs of the goshawks, there were martial artists with ferocious faces. Their bodies were emitting a murderous aura. The long swords in their hands were bright and they quickly slashed forward. In an instant, countless black shadows surrounded the Crimson Palace. However, in the next moment, a golden figure came from the palace like a golden lightning bolt. Then a sharp cry resounded and pierced through the sky. Soon, the goshawks were all trembling in fear as if they had encountered something terrifying. Some of the goshawks did not even dare to stay in the air and hurriedly landed on the ground. What's going on? Damn beast, stop right there. In an instant, all kinds of curses were heard and the sky was in chaos. Just as these people were panicking, two golden wings appeared in the void and spread out. The golden wings were hundreds of feet long and each feather was crystal clear. They were like golden divine swords that flew out quickly. 108,000 swords. In the next moment, the sky was filled with dazzling golden sword radiance. It moved in all directions and quickly enveloped the martial artists of the Golden Palace. Suddenly, countless screams were heard. The goshawks and the martial artists on them were all attacked. Countless sword radiance flew and pierced through the sky. The demonic beasts and the martial artists of the Golden Palace were staring at the ground and trembling. Blood flowed and dyed the sky red. Then it was summoned by a strange power and entered the Crimson Palace. The entire Crimson Palace was crystal clear and looked extremely demonic. Golden-feathered godly eagle. What a terrifying means. In the distance, the martial artists were shocked. They thought that the Golden Hall would kill Lin Xian mercilessly, but they didn't expect that Lin Xian would deal such a heavy blow to his opponent. In the void, the huge golden wings disappeared and turned into the figure of the golden-feathered divine eagle. The sky became clear again. However, the warriors of the Golden Palace were still trembling. None of them dared to charge forward. The bald man's pupils constricted as well. He was so angry that his entire body trembled. In just an instant, half of the people he had brought with him had been lost. This was something he could not accept. How dare you kill a member of the Golden Palace in front of us? I will let you know the consequences of offending the Golden Palace. The bald man's face was ferocious like a devil. His body was full of killing intent that shot up into the sky. So domineering, so arrogant. A steady voice resounded from the void of space. Aren't you going to ask why I want to kill Huang Jinxing? I don't need to know. I only know that anyone who dares to kill the people of the Golden Palace will end up in a miserable state. The bald man's face was ferocious. As expected of jackals of the same tribe. You are all equally shameless and unreasonable. Lin Xian sneered, if that's the case, let's just call it the Shameless Palace. Brat, how dare you insult the Golden Palace? You are dead meat. The bald man's face darkened. He swore that he would capture the person inside and pull out his bones and bones. He would then refine his soul so that he would never be reincarnated. You are the ones who are courting death. Lin Xian snorted, the younger generation is unreasonable. You want to kill and rob. Now the older generation is even more shameless. I don't care about the Golden Palace. As long as you dare to take a step into the palace, you will never be able to return. Lin Xian's voice was cold. It carried a monstrous killing intent that spread out in all directions. He was really angry. The other party was so arrogant and had surrounded him without any scruples. Did they really think that he was easy to bully? He would let these people know how miserable the consequences of bullying him were. In the void, the bald man roared and merged with the demonic beast under his feet. He quickly rushed toward the Crimson Palace. This time he was going to kill the person inside personally. The bald man turned into a ray of light and rushed toward the Crimson Palace like a bolt of lightning. In the next moment he disappeared into the Crimson Palace. Soon, he saw a young man in a blue shirt who was casually sitting there with a long sword on his back. It's actually a brat? The bald man was shocked. He did not expect that the person who killed so many martial artists from the Golden Palace was only a young man. In the next moment he suppressed the shock in his heart. So what if he was young? There was only one outcome for those who dared to kill the people from the Golden Palace, and that was death. Die, brat. The bald man stretched out his hand. A golden dragon attached to his arm and roared out. Dragon Claw. It was a top spiritual level cultivation skill that was said to be able to kill everything. It was extremely terrifying. In the void, the three flood dragons circled each other, roaring and roaring as they charged towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted and a look of disdain appeared in his eyes. In the next moment he stretched out his hand as well. Just a dragon. In front of a real dragon, it is nothing. Let me show you the real dragon claw. The crimson spiritual chi surged and quickly formed a huge dragon claw that slammed forward. In an instant, the void was torn apart. The terrifying crimson dragon claw was like a ferocious beast that suppressed the surroundings. The bald man's pupils shrank. He felt a strong sense of danger from Lin Xian. It was a feeling that he had not felt for many years. Impossible. He's just a brat. How can he be a threat to me? Illusion, it must be an illusion. The bald man removed the distracting thoughts from his mind and urged the 3 golden dragons in the air to move. In the next moment, the golden dragons collided with the huge crimson dragon claw. Rumble. Crack, crack, crack. In an instant, the 3 golden dragons cried out and their bodies were torn into several pieces. What? Impossible. The bald man was shocked and his eyelids twitched. He could not believe that Lin Xian could break his dragon claw in one move. Damn it, who is this brat? The bald man was uneasy. He realized that Lin Xian was not as simple as he had imagined. Brat, who are you? Don't you think it's too late to ask now? Lin Xian sneered. Lin Xian wanted to kill him arrogantly and ruthlessly. Now that he was afraid, he remembered to ask about his identity. How shameless. Don't be so arrogant, the bald man said coldly. I don't care who you are. I will kill you today. He let out a long roar and his body shone brightly. A golden giant shadow quickly condensed. This situation was exactly the same as when Huang Jinxing used his cultivation technique. However, with the bald man using it, the power was even stronger. In the void, golden light shone. It was majestic and exuded a terrifying aura. Chapter 832. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He had just seen this cultivation technique in Huang Jinxing's storage ring. This cultivation technique was called Golden Giant Avatar. It used one's own spiritual energy and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to form a huge golden giant avatar to increase one's combat strength. When it was practiced to a high level, one could merge with the golden giant avatar to form a real golden giant. It could also be used to form multiple golden giant avatars to besiege the enemy. It could be said to be infinitely useful. Now it seemed that the bald man had used the first method to merge with the golden giant avatar. Kid, go to hell. With a roar, the bald man was like a real giant. His body was tall and sturdy, shining with golden light. On his arms, there were 2 dragons that were quickly coiling around, looking extremely ferocious. He threw out a punch. With a flash of golden light, a golden dragon flew out. It was like a real dragon. It let out a dragon's roar and quickly rushed towards Lin Xian. Golden giant avatar? Lin Xian sneered and quickly circulated his spiritual energy. He used the great dragon sword soul to quickly simulate this martial art. Boom. The void fluctuated and Lin Xian's body shone with crimson light. In an instant, a huge crimson giant was formed. It roared to the sky and the sound shook the 9 heavens. It's just a form. You don't know how powerful the golden giant avatar is. When the bald man saw that Lin Xian was using a similar move to him, he sneered. The core of martial arts was not the appearance, but the real inner cultivation method. Only by mastering the origin of martial arts could one bring out the full potential of martial arts. Lin Xian was just a nameless kid. How could he master the Golden Palace's unique skill? Therefore, the bald man was disdainful of Lin Xian's actions. The crimson giant roared ferociously and 2 crimson dragon heads condensed on its huge fists. It quickly blasted forward. The 2 giants fought and the scene was extremely terrifying. The bald man had a look of disdain before, but after coming into contact with Lin Xian, he was terrified. Not only was Lin Xian's appearance similar to his, even his terrifying strength was the same. Compared to his golden giant, Lin Xian's crimson giant was even more terrifying. Impossible. How could he have such powerful combat strength? The bald man was shocked, disbelief written all over his face. He had cultivated for dozens of years before he could fuse with the golden giant. However, the other party was actually not inferior to him in terms of strength. This was unacceptable to him. Ka. The blood-colored giant roared, suddenly erupting with a powerful battle prowess, tearing the golden giant in half from the middle. The bald man didn't even have time to shout before he was torn apart along with the huge golden giant. His entire body was torn apart and turned into a bloody mist. Even if he died, he didn't believe that the other party could kill him so easily. Little did he know that the great dragon sword spirit that Lin Xian had mastered was the most powerful saint art in the world. The martial arts that were simulated with it were several times more powerful than the original martial arts. They were not on the same level at all. Without any surprise, the bald man was killed. Outside the palace, everyone held their breaths and waited anxiously. They only felt two terrifying auras erupting from the palace, as if they were going to tear the world apart. However, they did not know the specifics. Moreover, no one dared to enter. Everyone could only wait outside for the final result. However, before long, the terrifying aura within the palace disappeared. The blood-red palace became extremely calm, as if it was dead silent. What's the result? Could it be that Lin Xian was killed? Looking at the silent blood-red palace, the crowd couldn't help but wonder. Humph, do you even need to think about it? Of course that little thief was killed. Who can defeat our Golden Palace? The remaining Golden Palace martial artists sneered, full of confidence. Their leader, the bald man, was extremely powerful. Moreover, he could merge with the Golden Giant. His battle prowess was heaven-defying, and killing a third-level honorable martial artist was a piece of cake, let alone a nameless little thief. Just as everyone was discussing, a black shadow flew out from the entrance of the blood-red palace. It's out! Everyone exclaimed and looked carefully. However, in the next moment, countless exclamations were heard. The Golden Palace martial artists trembled and froze on the spot. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. The Golden Palace martial artists were shocked, and their expressions changed drastically. They shouted loudly in disbelief. As for the surrounding martial artists, their eyelids were wide open, and their hearts trembled. This was because the black shadow that came out was none other than a head. It was the bald man's head. The overbearing and arrogant Golden Palace martial artist had actually died. Moreover, the other party had only entered the blood-red palace for a short period of time. He had been killed in just a moment. This unforeseen event shocked everyone. The eyes of the head were filled with shock, fear, and unwillingness. It was a stark contrast to the overbearing and bloodthirsty bald man from before. In just an instant, the overbearing bald man had died, and this shocked everyone. Especially the Golden Palace martial artists. All of them were terrified as they looked at the blood-red palace in front of them fearfully. They had originally come to kill the culprit, but now that their leader had died prematurely, they didn't know what to do at that moment. In the next moment, the void fluctuated, and a huge blood-red giant appeared in the void. He roared into the sky and punched out with both fists. Two blood-red dragons roared out and instantly enveloped the remaining Golden Palace martial artists. Those martial artists didn't even have time to scream before they turned into pools of blood and merged with the blood-red palace. Lin Xian wasn't a bloodthirsty person, but these people had come to kill him. Against his enemies he would never show mercy. In the next moment, the huge blood-red giant disappeared and the void returned to normal. Only the blood-red palace was left floating. From the beginning to the end, Lin Xian had never come out of the palace. His powerful and fierce means had shocked everyone. However, there were also people who were worried because the Golden Palace was undoubtedly powerful. This time they should have come from one of the 18 cities, the Hujax city. This city was the closest to the heaven-seeking city, so they were also the first to arrive. These people were probably only a portion of the Hujax city's strength. The real terrifying main force was still behind. When that force arrived, it could definitely destroy everything. When that time came, Lin Xian would definitely not be able to withstand it. Yes, not only the Golden Palace martial artists but other martial artists will also come. After all, the temptation of the Lone Star Sword is incomparably strong. In the blood-red palace, Lin Xian sat cross-legged. He was studying the storage ring of the bald man. Other than the Golden Giant avatar, there was also a martial art called the Flood Dragon Hand, which was also a type of capturing martial art. Lin Xian quickly browsed through it and tried to use the Great Dragon Sword Soul. Soon he mastered this martial art. After all, he didn't want to completely master it, but to comprehend it and use it as a reference. He used his own Great Dragon Sword Soul to form the dragon capturing hand that was different from the Flood Dragon Hand. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.